no to sexual relations with the husband at any point for any reason. So we'll have a talk about that. We'll touch on that. We have an interview lined up for you, and that is coming up with the Human Sciences Research Council's Professor Khangelani Zuma. That's coming up at about 10 to 7 this morning. You can also weigh in on this, by the way, and the number to dial for that is 086 000 2032. I'll also take your WhatsApp voice notes, 061 410 4107. Are you shocked by these findings? Do they fall in line with your understanding of the depths and the tentacles of the issues around gender power relations as well as gender-based violence? So that's one of the themes that we will cover on this show today. The other big theme that we constantly have to keep an eye on, we really, really cannot afford to look away, given, just our concerns about life, human life, albeit people that are accused of committing a crime, but nonetheless, it's human life in a constitutionally based society with the foregrounding of human rights that we do. There's a plan now, we are told, and the plan has been set in motion to rescue hundreds of illegal miners that are underground at an abandoned shaft in Stilfontein in the northwest. The plan comes after local government roped in mining experts and community leaders to try and find a solution to the impasse between law enforcement and illegal miners who remain underground at the Buffelsfontein mine in Stilfontein. So we will have a conversation with the MEC for Community Safety in the Northwest, and that is coming up in the second hour of the show, and he will tell us what the plan is to try and rescue those mine workers and try and get them to the surface, even if it's not a rescue, even if it means they're coming up simply to be arrested for their alleged involvement in unlawful activities. Lastly, I do want to flag this. The former ANC spokesperson, Pule Mabe, may not sell or otherwise dispose of his house in Steyn City here in Johannesburg or his luxury Porsche 911 vehicle until the Special Investigating Unit's review application against a controversial Gauteng tender that his company scored is finalized. The Corruption Busting Unit has obtained a preservation order for the property and vehicle as part of its investigation of irregularities in the award of the tender, through which Mabe's former company, it's now known as Groen Mintiro, but you and I would have known it back then as Enviromobi. That contract, through that contract, the company was to supply the Provincial Agriculture Department with some 200 motorized scooters valued at about 27.5 million rand. So we have that interview coming up at about 20 to 7 this morning, where we'll be speaking to the Special Investigating Unit. What do you think? I get the sense that the SIU, give credit where it's due, the bits that they can control, right? The bits that they can control, because they can't control everything. The bits that they can control, which has to do with the civil remedies, recoveries of monies, preservation of properties, as well as forfeiture of properties that are linked to corruption and the likes. They have done that bit. Certainly in the last 4 years or so, I have seen all sorts of preservation orders. Yes, a lot can be said about how do they select the cases that they go after. But if you don't start somewhere, you'll never start. You have to start somewhere, and you get it into a system such that people know that corruption doesn't pay. Weigh in on that. Give me a call, 086 000 2032, as well as your WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. We have all of your regulars lined up as usual. And Musa with your news updates every half hour. Rob Byrne with your traffic update every 15 minutes or so. Zaikan is watching your sport throughout the morning. Ndauling Lechela has your economics, business and market news covered, as well as Sipho Mantula with your Africa update just before 8 a.m. This is SAFM. We are leading the conversations that move us. The first hour of the Tuesday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
The Daily News Diary on SAFM.
For that, let's say good morning to Ann Musa. Ann, I believe that I've done your daily news diary for I've taken it off the table.
Yes, you have, but still other stories
What's
that we
left?
will also
What do you
be
have?
focusing on. But you know what, I should also highlight, importantly so, the matter regarding the illegal miners that's still underground
Yes.
at Shaft 11 in Stilfontein. So, today the High Court in Pretoria will hear the main application from the Society for the Protection of Our Constitution. And on Saturday, the court granted interim measures pending the finalization of the main application, which in summary ordered that the mine shaft in Stilfontein must be unblocked for emergency personnel and that no person should block it. So that is our main focus this morning. Also, a national summit taking place in Durban, and this is to address the issues of safety at construction sites, concerns around the so-called construction mafia, security and other criminal activity at construction sites will be coming under the spotlight at the Construction Summit, and the summit is in collaboration with the South African Police Service and the Construction Industry Development Board, as well as the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Keeping an eye on what's happening in Soweto, where members of Operation Dudula blocked foreign nationals from registering their spaza shops, claiming that they are stealing business from locals. And yesterday, the group set up at the Civic Centre in Jabulani to prevent spaza shop owners from getting inside to register their businesses as part of government's intervention, and that is to fight against the recent spate of food poisoning cases. In the Eastern Cape, the Enyobeni inquest looking into the deaths of the 21 young people inside the tavern at Scenery Park continues at the East London Regional Court, and this inquest is looking if anyone can be held liable for the deaths of the teenagers, and the owner of the tavern were charged and fined for selling alcohol to underage persons. The summer initiation season, we know, has officially kicked in the Eastern Cape, and the stakeholders in the province there are looking to keep a zero death record during this summer season. During the winter season, a total of 14 initiates died in the province, and those are some of the stories that we are looking at this morning.
All right, jam-packed diary as always. Thank you for that. That's Ann Musa. She'll be keeping you updated on the news every half hour here on The Morning Brief.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
A quick check on your weather now as you get your days started. We start with one warning. It is an impact-based warning, yellow level 1. It says severe thunderstorms resulting in localized flooding of roads, settlements and low-lying areas, leading to closure of some bridges and roads due to heavy downpours, damage to property and infrastructure due to strong winds and hail, and disruption of municipal services due to excessive lightning are expected over the western parts of KwaZulu-Natal and the Highveld of Mpumalanga. There's a fire danger warning. It says extremely high fire danger conditions are expected over the northern parts of the West Coast District in the Western Cape, as well as the western adjacent interior and the east central parts of the Northern Cape. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria is fine, becoming partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers with a minimum of 19 and a maximum of 31. Johannesburg, fine, becoming partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers, 16 to 30. Bombela is partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 21 to 29. Bulukwane is partly cloudy with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers, 17 to 33. Mahikeng is partly cloudy with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers, 21 to 34. Bloemfontein is fine, becoming partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 18 to 35. Kimberley is fine, becoming partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 18 to 36. Cape Town will be fine with high-level clouds from the afternoon with a minimum of 17 and a maximum of 26. Gqeberha will be fine, becoming cloudy from the afternoon, 16 to 23. East London will be cloudy with light rain in the evening, 15 to 23. Durban is cloudy with isolated showers and rain, and the temperatures there will be 20 to 25. Richards Bay will be cloudy with isolated showers and rain, 22 to 28. And finally, Pietermaritzburg will be cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 17 to 25.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
20 past 6. Let's turn to this story. The U.S. President Joe Biden has authorized the first use of U.S.-supplied long-range missiles by Ukraine for strikes inside Russia. Biden's decision is a major change in U.S. policy. The choice has divided his advisors, and his shift comes 2 months before President-elect Donald Trump, who has vowed to limit further support for Ukraine, takes office. For more on this, I'm joined on the line by Christopher Isike, who is professor at the Department of Political Sciences at the University of Pretoria. Good morning to you, Prof, and thank you for your time as always. That came out of the blue, didn't it? What do you believe has informed this about turn by the Biden administration in its dying days?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. This is just a way to try and balance the negotiating power of Ukraine with that of Russia, given the impending negotiated settlement of the war that we are likely going to see under President Trump.
So, Prof, we're having a bit of a challenge with your line. I think it improved just as you were in the middle of that response. You are saying that this is about strengthening the hand of Ukraine in whatever negotiations eventuate from this conflict. How so?
Well, yes, because you will see. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can now.
Clear?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So you would notice that, of course, everyone has said, especially from the Russian side, that a Trump presidency is beneficial to Russia. And we have seen Russia actually increase its momentum, its attacks on Ukraine in the last couple of days. And the idea is to, take as much as they can to strengthen their own hands. And I think that Biden, in these last 60 days, approving for Ukraine to use these long-range weapons in Ukraine is to try and strengthen their own hands. Not that it's going to change too much right now, but it gives the Ukrainian some leverage, to show that they can strike and back and take some of the land that has been taken, by Russia, especially in the east. Although the U.S. decision restricts Ukraine's use of these weapons to the Kursk region, where Russia is currently, it helps to balance the forces there and deter Russia from taking more than it is taking or planning to take, if nothing was to prevent them from doing whatever they wanted. So it's kind of a leverage to help Ukraine in some ways.
So it's all about ground and territory, is it not? Given what you just said about the Kursk region, this is the region where Ukraine launched an incursion into Russian territory. So are you saying it's about holding that territory so that in a future negotiation that comes into play?
Yes, and because following Trump's victory, Russia has hit back very strongly, trying to, take back that region. And without this kind of weapons, Ukraine's chance of withholding or withstanding that onslaught from Russia is very limited. So I think that both of them have now recognized that, this will end in a negotiated settlement. Even the Ukraine president himself has said that. Is looking forward to the war being ended under President Trump. So that would mean a negotiated settlement. The question is, when you go into that negotiation room, what do you have? What do you want to keep? What leverage do you have in terms of forcing your way for your position to be reckoned with? And I think that this is what this move by Biden helps the Ukrainians to achieve.
Yeah. Is this the reason why we've not had fire and fury, to use that expression, from the Kremlin since this decision by Biden was made known, that, while Russia had said that such authorization would amount to NATO being directly involved in this conflict, the response has not really been that swift and furious as many would have expected. Is this because there's also a calculation on the Russian side about the implications of this decision?
Well, you're right, but I think that the Kremlin has spoken through its spokesperson, just that President Putin has not said anything, and I think that's important. he is probably looking at the calculation. Remember Biden's response or comments when he gave the approval was that this was his response to North Korean fighters helping Russia to fight this war, which is not supposed to be the case. So I'm sure that Putin is also weighing in on what counter argument he could put in, considering Biden's move that this is a response to allowing North Korea to fight for Russia in especially this Cox region that we're talking about. So it's a balance of many sorts. What will be his next move? And many people talk about President Biden being a lame duck president in the next 60 days. But I can tell you that 60 days means a lot in when you have as much power as the President of the United States has.
But on the battlefield, Russia really is stepping up its attacks, is it not? Pushing on the Eastern Front as well as the drone attacks that are taking place.
Yes, and this is why this helps Ukraine to try and push back on some of those attacks, strengthen its position in Kursk, in order to return the emphasis to Kursk instead of allowing Russia to do as it pleases, especially on the east. And Russia is doing what it's doing in the east as well as it was trying to take back the Kursk region, precisely because they want to keep what they have and strengthen their hands when they go into those negotiations under Trump.
What about the rest of the allies supporting Ukraine, your United Kingdom and the likes, when they watch the U.S. approving the use of long-range missiles that can strike deep into Russian territory? How should they be, or how do you expect they are reading the situation and how they should respond?
Look, it's not just the U.S. that has given permission for the use of this or giving these weapons in the first place. The French and the British also have contributed these missiles of a similar range, but they had essentially prevented Kyiv from hitting Russia with them. So now with Biden's approval, France and the United Kingdom, we follow and give the same approval. NATO, of course, will be concerned because of the threat by Putin that this is a major escalation, and it would deem it that NATO has entered the conflict. That's how Putin put it through his spokesperson. So they will all be watching and probably be ready for any kind of intervention that they would need, depending on what Putin does. However, I think that all of them are hopeful. You would also have learned that the German Chancellor put a call to Putin a few days ago. So I would think that everyone is ready for a negotiated settlement, and therefore I don't think Putin would necessarily strike any NATO country or even the US because of this.
Yeah. And lastly, just in terms of the G20 underway in Brazil, many of the countries and blocs that you and I are talking about, the EU, for example, are part of the G20. So I wonder to what extent it provides an opportunity for some FaceTime. It's one thing for the German Chancellor to put a call through, but it's quite another for people who are in the same space as members of the G20 to actually, make maneuvers and reach out. And do you believe that's happening, given the context of what has gone before as well, such as the conversations that took place when the BRICS summit was taking place?
Well, it would have been a perfect opportunity if Biden was going to continue, or his party at least is going to continue to lead the United States from January 2025. I think that there will not be any much serious talk in terms of any kind of negotiated settlement because the United States, of course, will have an important role to play. So the question is, which United States president should you be having any kind of discussions with at this point? I don't think that they would want to do too much, knowing fully well that Biden is leaving. And many of them would be comfortable, of course, with the war ending. So may tacitly support a Trump overture, and he's not there, so there will not be much talk around this specific conflict because, of course, the president is not going to be useful.
Yeah, that dynamic comes into play. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Christopher Isike is professor at the Department of Political Sciences at the University of Pretoria. At 6:30, let's check in with Ann Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us in the headlines. The Garden Route District Municipality in the Western Cape says 9 children from the Mossel Bay area were admitted to hospital after sharing chips they bought from a spaza shop. The children experienced stomach cramps and were immediately taken to a local hospital. The High Court in Pretoria is today expected to hear the main application in the standoff between illegal miners and police at a mine in Stilfontein in the northwest. The organisation Society for the Protection of Our Constitution approached the court for relief for the unconfirmed number of illegal miners. And Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Sindisiwe Chikunga, says that the inaugural gender-based violence study has given insight into how profound the problem is in South Africa. The Human Science Research Council released the results of the study in Pretoria yesterday. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Busy start for Midrand traffic. There's been a crash on the M1 North going towards Pretoria, just past New Road. So there is some queuing pressure, double lane closure at that scene. But on the southbound side, there's a big impact with the onlooking factor. So coming from Brockfontein down through into Midrand towards New Road, pretty heavy on your way to Joburg as well. Also the old Olifantsfontein Road coming through from Clayville on towards Pretoria Main. There's quite a noticeable backlog there. N12, but only through Boksburg is heavy. N12 from Protea Glen up towards Eldorado Park, even heavier. There's big queues this morning on the N12 approaching the Golden Highway exit. Durban, the N2 starting to queue both ways in the Prospecton area. Southbound, you'd expect that into the closure at Joyner Road. The N2 north into that area coming off at Tweedy Hill, getting quite busy as well. And then the big story from Cape Town is this stationary truck on the N1 inbound at Old Oak Road in the Belleville area. That's pushing traffic back beyond Okavango Road and back towards Brighton Road, sort of Kraaifontein area. So it is heavy. Behind that, the R300 is very heavy coming through Brackenfell to get into that N1 backlog. And a bit of sand on Baden Powell this morning at Sandy Corner, Monua BC. Be careful getting through that bottom part of Khayelitsha through that sand. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you, Zai. So the good news is that he doesn't have to follow through on his threat to resign. should Bafana not qualify, because they qualified very easily.
Yeah.
But he remains a taskmaster, doesn't he, Hugo Bros?
Goals. He's got goals, this guy. And I tell you what, it's not a friendly tonight.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be like frenemies on the pitch, but this isn't your neighborhood soccer match, just so you know. Coach Hugo Bruges has got us bracing for a showdown, 6 p.m. tonight against South Sudan. Although the fixture is a dead rubber for South Africa, having already booked our ticket to Morocco next year, even before beating Uganda 2-0 last Friday. The coach shot down the idea of making wholesale changes as well, allowing fringe players to get a taste of international football.
I don't like taking this game as a friendly game. And you know, when you start changing everything, that means that maybe also players will feel, well, oh, yeah, look, he's chasing 6-7 players. So I don't want this. What I said in the beginning, I mean it. We want to be first, and we will try to put our best team tomorrow on the pitch.
And you can catch the action live on SABC Sport. Action elsewhere, Malawi delivering a stunning performance in the final Group L match of the CAF AFCON 2025 qualifiers, beating Burkina Faso 3-0 at the Bingu National Stadium. Despite the result, the group standing remains unchanged as Senegal and Burkina Faso advance to Morocco. Elsewhere, Rwanda secured a 2-1 victory over Nigeria at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium. Although it wasn't enough for Rwanda to qualify for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations, the 2023 AFCON finalists saw their unbeaten run in qualifying come to an end. They still finished top of Group D, 3 points ahead of Benin, who drew 0-0 with Libya, with their concurrent match to pip Rwanda on goal difference. Elsewhere, Niger, they secured a 2-1 victory over Ghana in their Africa Cup of Nations qualification Group F match. All happened at the Accra Sports Stadium. However, the win was not enough for Niger to earn a spot in the AFCON finals as they finished third after Sudan held Angola to a 0-0 draw to qualify for the tournament. The Black Stars, on the other hand, finished at the bottom of the group standings, having failed to register a single victory, and they also failed to reach the AFCON finals for the first time since 2004. Tennis action, Lucia Bronzetti gave Italy a 1-0 lead in their Billie Jean Cup semi-final against Poland yesterday, beating Magda Nelet. But then it was Iga Swiatek who went on to beat Jasmine Paolini and to level the score. And finally, cricket. Marcus Stoinis hit an unbeaten 61 of 27 balls as Australia thrashed Pakistan by 7 wickets to seal a 3-0 clean sweep in the T20 series. He struck 5 fours and 5 sixes to propel them to a target of 118 with 8.4 overs to spare. All happened in Hobart. Pakistan earlier collapsed from 61 for 1 to 117 all out. Australia won the first T20 in Brisbane by 29 runs and the second in Sydney by 13 runs. That's how we wrap up the morning brief sport. There'll be more top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
For that, let's say good morning to Ntaoling Lechela. So Ntaoling, Barcelona is one of those cities facing what is known as over-tourism. You are telling us this morning that Airbnb wants Barcelona to rethink the restrictions that it has imposed in that area.
That's right, Sula. So Airbnb is pleading with Spain's government to reconsider its policy around short-term rentals. Barcelona, known for travel and tourism, has been dealing with a housing crisis where rents have soared by about 70%. The mayor of the city says online rental platforms are driving up prices and pushing locals out the city, with over 10,000 apartments registered as tourist rentals. Now, the city wants to free up more housing for long-term residents and address the issue of over-tourism. And so it's moving ahead with plans to ban short-term rentals by 2028. This, of course, affecting Airbnb. Now, the company argues that the ban won't solve the housing crisis. In a letter to Barcelona's mayor, the company's head of policy for Spain and Portugal, Sarah Rodriguez, said that previous restrictions implemented since 2014 have failed to alleviate housing and over-tourism concerns. And even with the concerns raised, Barcelona's mayor has not responded to Airbnb. Now, it'll be interesting to see how, this unfolds, as it could set more precedents for further regulation on short-term rentals, considering that the housing issue is widespread. We've seen Madrid, London, Amsterdam, and Paris applying restrictions of their own. And here at home, Cape Town rent prices have been a topic of concern, with many pointing to the rise of Airbnb in the city as one of the contributing factors, saying it has led to a decrease in available long-term rentals and driven up prices.
Yeah, in fact, we have an interview scheduled for that just before 8 a.m. with Grant Smee, who is the CEO of Only Realty Property Group, just weighing in on how that dynamic plays out here at home. Tell me about Nedbank eyeing further growth outside of South Africa, but within African markets.
Yes, sticking in the continent, it's looking to expand its footprint in Africa. South Africa's fourth largest bank aims to transform its African presence, reducing reliance on South Africa and targeting a 4-fold profit increase from other African markets by 2033. According to a Bloomberg article, the lender has the funds to scale up those operations, sitting with 12 billion rands in excess capital on its books. Currently, over 90% of the bank's profits originate from South Africa, but Nedbank has its sights set on generating nearly half of its earnings from other African markets within the next 5 to 10 years. Now, this bold target represents a big leap from the current 9.2% contribution from these markets. According to Terence Sibia, who is Group Managing Executive for Nedbank Africa Regions, the bank has exposure to Eswatini, Lesotho, Mozambique, Namibia, and Zimbabwe, and is confident in its ability to achieve this goal. forecasting growth of 20 to 40%. Now, the strategic shift is part of a broader trend among local banks seeking growth opportunities in other African markets to offset local issues. Rivals Standard Bank and First Rand have already established operations in East and West Africa, and Nedbank is determined to follow suit. By 2029, CBS says Nedbank will be a fundamentally different bank with a diversified revenue stream and a strong presence across the continent, helping it, of course, mitigate dependence on the local economy.
A recap then for us, Ndauling, of the markets here at home and elsewhere.
So U.S. markets recovering from last week's losses and ending yesterday's trading session mixed, with most indexes closing higher, led by the Nasdaq trading 0.6% by the close. It was green screen here at home as investors welcomed an improved credit rating outlook. The All share ended 0.66% higher, fueled by a 1.7% increase in the Resources 10 complex. The Rand also caught up in the optimism, trading higher and below the 18 Rand mark. It's sitting at 17.92 to the greenback. And then over in Asia, those stocks in positive territory as traders start picking up some stocks following the profit-taking spree we saw last week.
Ndauling Lichela has got her eyes on the money. She'll be back with another update just after 7:30 here on the Morning Brief.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
The former ANC spokesperson Pule Mabe may not sell or otherwise dispose of his house in Steyn City, Johannesburg, or his luxury Porsche 911 vehicle until the Special Investigating Unit's review application against a controversial Gauteng tender he scored is finalized. The corruption-busting unit has obtained a preservation order for the property and vehicle as part of its investigation of irregularities in the award of the tender, through which Mabe's former company, Groen Mintiro, formerly known as Enviromobi, was to supply the Provincial Agriculture Department with 200 motorized scooters at the cost of 27.5 million rand. Let's welcome into the conversation Kaiser Khanyago, who speaks on behalf of the SIU. Good morning to you, Kaiser. So tell us what a preservation order means in this particular context. What are the implications for the parties involved, including the former ANC spokesperson?
Good morning to us and good morning to your listeners. The preservation order is just a way of saying we are going into a process where we want to recover the money that was used in a manner that is not in line with the Constitution. Therefore, that process might take time, and because of that, people have a tendency of letting go of their properties and immovable properties. Therefore, we are saying to them, now there's an order to say to you, you cannot do that, but you must continue. As much as you're staying in the same house or you're using the car, you cannot sell it or give it over to anyone. And secondly, you are obliged to pay for insurance, for all of those things, and the upkeep of that house as you always do. Therefore, that is where we are in this case. So
it doesn't mean the SIU taking control at this point, and this is to separate it from a forfeiture.
Yes, we are not. What we then will do is we're going to go to the special tribunal to make sure that we set aside the contract. Once the contract is set aside, then we get into the forfeiture side of things, where we then will go and apply for forfeiture if there is a need for us to get the money back from them.
I imagine that, not that I imagine, it does have the force of law, a preservation order. So what happens in instances where a person doesn't abide by its terms? For instance, you mentioned keeping up with insurance payments, or if it's a property that is still subject to financing, I just don't keep up with, the financing obligations, and then it's repossessed. I don't know if you have the answers at hand to that, or, the experience of that.
Yes, it is very clear in the preservation order that you need to do that. Therefore, if you do not do that, you will be going against the order, and therefore there will be consequences, because the matter will then be taken back to the tribunal and it will be heard. You would have seen, for example, I think last week we had a situation where there was a forfeiture order around Mr. Ndlovu. And then he did not want to return some 2 watches and a car. And this matter went back, and he was sentenced to days in prison, which was suspended for a month for him to do that. Therefore, there are always consequences.
So just back to the Groen Mintiro, formerly known as Enviromobi, this company of which Pulemabe was once a director. What is it about this contract for the supply of these scooters, came across as irregular on your side? Is it in the way that it was adjudicated and the whole process was run, or is it in the way that the contract, once it was entered into, was implemented?
Yeah, it is mainly the fact that the contract was not entered into in a fair manner from the beginning, but also the process of payment, the way it was done even before there was verification of delivery of those vehicles. And thirdly, there was an issue around the fact that even after 2 years, there was still an issue around those motorized vehicles being with the company that is supposed to deliver them, and that company also charging storage fee for that, or to the amount of about 6 million rand.
And this is one of those cases, is it not, Kaiser, where you had recommendations as the SIU to the National Prosecuting Authority to institute prosecutions?
Definitely, we did send this to the NPA, and they've acted on it, obviously working with the Hawks, and that is why we see all of those people are now before court as we speak.
All right. So what happens now, Kaiser? What's the process going forward? You have this property under preservation order. What's your next steps?
The next step is to then launch. We were given a timetable now to formally launch the papers with the tribunal, and then there is a timetable that I think leading towards somewhere in March where the matter will be heard. Therefore, there are processes in court. The date where the launch of these papers is done, the responses and all of those things, with the view of having this matter heard in March.
All right. Thank you for that. That's Kaiser Kganyago. He speaks on behalf of the Special Investigating Unit.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
12 minutes to 7. Every day, 33 people die because of gun violence in South Africa. That's 33. 33 people die because of gun violence in this country. As a result, the lobby group Gun Free South Africa is calling for stronger laws and strategies to control firearm ownership. Police data indicates that guns were used in 12,000 to 16,000 murders in the country between 2023 and 2024 thus far. For more on this, I'm joined on the line by Damian Anslin, who is the chairperson of the South African Gun Owners Association. What is your position? Good morning to you, Damian. What is your position around the need for stricter laws and regulation around lawful ownership of guns, given the context that I've just painted? All right, we're battling with that line to Damian. We'll try and get Damian back on the line to talk to us about that situation. The statistics are staggering. 33 people, we are told, die because of gun violence in this country. Recently, we had these massive mass shooting incidents that we were talking about, and that falls into that context, and the statistics speak for themselves. You've got to have the conversation about to what extent can you further regulate access to firearm, lawful or otherwise. All right, let's take a quick traffic update, and we'll be back with more in just a moment.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Heavy through Midrand this morning. A crash on the M1 northbound going towards Pretoria. 2 lanes are closed just past New Road. Backlogs to Allendale, so that's heavy by itself. But the great weight of traffic on the southbound side getting caught having a look. So if you're out of Pretoria to Joburg, standing traffic literally from Brockfontein interchange all the way down through to that New Road area. N12 from Protea Glen up to Eldorado Park is very heavy this morning. And there's also just backlogging out of Benoni through Boksburg due to an earlier broken down vehicle. N2 up on some 23 Prospect and 20 Hill territory, queuing up quite heavily. There's a breakdown between Mhlanga and Kwamashu again in the roadwork, so some delays on your way down to Durban. And Cape Town, very heavy around the Brackenfell area inbound. It all stems from the stationary truck N1 inbound at Old Oak Road at Belleville. Traffic's now back to Brighton Road, deep into sort of Kraaifontein territory. Behind that, the R300 is very heavily backed from Van Riebeeck Road at the Chaos River exit all the way through, trying to get into that impossibly backed up N1. So if you can avoid the N1, Old Pal Road might be a bit quicker, but the R300 certainly off-ramp at Stickland and route into Belleville for alternative routes. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
To this now, a Human Sciences Research Council study has revealed that 36% of women in South Africa, an estimated 7.8 million, have experienced physical and or sexual abuse at some point in their lives. Almost 24%, an estimated 3.4 million, have experienced it at the hands of an intimate partner. Let's welcome into the conversation Professor Kangelani Zuma, who is the head of biostatistics at the Human Sciences Research Council. So before we get into the findings, Prof, just tell us about the methodology and the sampling of this particular study. How did you come to these conclusions?
Thank you very much, listeners. The survey is a population-based survey. So we went to households. We targeted a total of 20,000 respondents in the country, where our data collectors went to each and every household that has been randomly selected. Households were separated as geographical communities, some targeted for male respondents and others targeted for female respondents. So our study is one of its kind that includes the victims of gender-based violence and also males who are also in themselves victims but also perpetrators of gender-based violence.
And from those that sample, you've been able to project the extent of the prevalence, and you are telling us it's some 36% of women in the country who have experienced physical and or sexual abuse at some point in their lives.
Certainly, the survey using statistical methods was a benchmark to our media population estimates of 2022, so that the survey is generalizable to the population of South Africa that is age 18 years and above. And indeed, the findings show that a number of women experience gender-based violence, as you indicated, and even more concerning is that also a number of them experience gender-based violence from their intimate partners, as the statistics show that as recent as in the last 12 months, a total of 432,000 women reported to have been sexually violated by any person, but even so, a number of them were violated by their partner, so which is even more concerning. And if you look at these statistics, they are way higher than those statistics that are reported in the police statistics, for example, or in other small-scale studies, as our country for years has been relying on small-scale studies and police statistics, which are often an underestimate because people tend not to report these incidences. Now, this study, as the first of its kind, has been able to go to communities, interview people in a space whereby they would be comfortable to report or to talk about what has actually happened to them and giving support somehow about what has happened to them.
So, in a way, your study, Prof, was two-pronged, was it not? It was about establishing the prevalence of gender-based violence on the other hand, and that's what you and I have been talking about for the last few minutes. Tell me about what you found in as far as the norms and attitudes and gender power relations are concerned.
It was concerning that we find that the stereotypes still exist among males, for example, indicating that they expect to have sexual contact with their partner at any time they want. If they are married or they've paid lobola to a partner, the partner is bound to provide them their sexual needs, even if the partner does not feel like. And also, in some cases, male indicating that actually a woman is supposed to be at home, taking care home, and it is expected for a man to be actually the person who must exert power and control, these are the stereotypes that still exist. What was concerning is that even in some cases, some women also believe similar norms and stereotypes that do exist. However, whilst talking about gender-based violence, I also indicate that there are also men who indicated about 7.8% of them, women who indicated that they have actually physically violated their partner. So in our country, gender-based violence is worse and perpetrated by males, but there are cases whereby women also perpetrate gender-based violence.
Lastly, Prof, tell me about this finding around the proportion of men who agree with the perception that the laws make it too easy for a woman to bring a violence charge against a man.
Yes, men do feel that the laws are making it easy for women to bring about a charge of gender-based violence. But of course, the question is, the laws are there to be respected, and also the laws, they should make it easy for anyone who is violated to actually report a case. Even for as a male, if you have been violated, it should be easy for you to go and report. The bottom line is that there should not be a need for those laws. We should, as a society, be able to live peacefully together without the need even for those laws, if we were living peacefully around each other.
You knew I was going to do this at the end, right? Tell the people you are the only Zuma who's good with what?
With numbers.
Okay. Professor Khangelani Zuma, a good friend of mine. He's from the Human Sciences Research Council, where he's head of biostatistics.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let's take a few of your voice notes now before we get to the top of the hour. Let's take this one on the issue of corruption.
Hi, Thulas. Yes, Willie here in Kuma. Thulas, good move on the case of Pulemabi. So next, the Mokonyanis as well, all those who were implicated in Zondo Commission must also follow, and then we want the results, Thulas. The money must be paid back, and these criminals must be locked up, and then the Guptas as well. We want them back so that our monies must be brought back into the state coffers. Thanks, Willie and Kuma.
Yeah. You know, you raise an important one. We don't hear about the Guptas and attempts to extradite them back to South Africa anymore. It's all gone very quiet. I wonder if anything is churning in the background that will surprise all of us. Thank you for raising that.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Only in South Africa corruption does pay. NPA has never had a successful prosecution on corruption cases. I've lost confidence in NPA. So Tisnyolen Mafefelen Popo, thank you.
And that's sad. That's sad what you are saying. I wouldn't agree that they've never had a successful corruption prosecution. In fact, they usually issue out the statistics around corruption, and I'm hoping that at some point, Mthunzi Maga, a good friend of mine, will send some of those details through and just share what the latest figures are. But I hear the concern you raise around the issue of confidence in the National Prosecuting Authority around taking forward some of these cases that have been prominent, and that is separate from what the work is that the SIU has been doing. Because as I say, the SIU is about civil remedies. They go straight to the special tribunal where they lay a case and they say, listen, this is what we suspect around this contract. We'd like to have a preservation order to ensure that those properties are not lost. And when they are successful, those properties are then forfeited to the SIU. Thank you for those. We'll continue to take them throughout the show. At 7 a.m., let's check in with N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, 9 children hospitalized after sharing chips and High Court to decide fate of Stilfontein miners. Good morning. The Garden Route District Municipality in the Western Cape says 9 children from the Mossel Bay area were admitted to hospital after sharing chips they bought from a spaza shop yesterday. The children experienced stomach cramps and were immediately taken to a local hospital. Municipal Mayor Andrew Struble says the children have since been discharged. He says environmental health practitioners have already initiated an investigation into the incident. The chips will be sent to a lab and test results will be made public. The High Court in Pretoria is today expected to hear the main application in the standoff between illegal miners and police in Stilfontein in the northwest. The organisation, Society for the Protection of Our Constitution, approached the court for relief for the unconfirmed number of illegal miners. Police have been waiting for the illegal miners to resurface. Zoleka Godashe reports.
We're not sending help to criminals. We're going to smoke them out. They will come out. We're not sending help to criminals. Criminals are not to be helped. Criminals are to be persecuted.
These are the sentiments that have prompted urgent legal action against Kokda Minister Vilinkosini Hlabisa, who has been cited in papers as the first respondent. It's expected that parties will fully flesh out their arguments before Judge Brenda Noikisha. On Saturday, Noikisha granted an order directing that the mine be unblocked and that emergency personnel be permitted access to the trapped people. Members of the police service have been stationed above the shaft, waiting to effect arrests against those resurfacing from underground.
The rand has gained more than 1% as markets applaud the recent move of ratings agency Standard & Poor's to improve the nation's credit grade outlook. The ratings agency revised South Africa's outlook from stable to positive, citing the promises of the Government of National Unity to grow the economy and a surge in private investments. This week, local investors' attention will be on the Reserve Bank's anticipated 25 basis point interest rate decrease and October inflation data. The rand is currently trading at 17.94 Rand to the US dollar. Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Thulasizwe Simelane, says the inaugural gender-based violence study has given insight into how profound the problem is in South Africa. The Human Science Research Council released the results of the study in Pretoria yesterday. They revealed that more than 7 million South African women had experienced physical and emotional violence in their lives. Simelane says this is a worrying revelation.
What we didn't anticipate is that women who are cohabitating are more exposed to sexual abuse, to physical abuse, than women who are in permanent relationships, such as married women. We thought maybe the study, under normal circumstances, will expect women who are in marriages or permanent relationships will be more exposed and will endure more gender-based violence than the others. So yes, that actually says again, we've got therefore to go to our policies, to go to our national strategic plan on gender-based violence, look at how best do we strengthen that portion of our work.
And finally, the United Nations head overseeing global talks at COP29 has warned initiatives to mitigate the effects of climate change could stall if governments refuse to compromise in less than a week left for negotiations. He has urged governments to deal with points of disagreement and conclude a deal on financing energy transition in developing countries. Titaba Tsotetsi reports from Baku in Azerbaijan.
Ministers from different countries met on Monday to move the climate talks to the political level after the first week of COP29 ended in an apparent stalemate. The UN head overseeing the talks, Simon Still, has warned that if an agreement is not reached soon, the COP29 talks could collapse, especially on financing developing economies. The European Union made it clear ahead of the COP that it wants to see countries like China and some Gulf states stepping up to the plate as the economies have been doing well since the climate talks in the 1990s.
Recapping the top story, the Garden Route District Municipality in the Western Cape says 9 children from the Mossel Bay area were admitted to hospital after sharing chips they bought from a spaza shop yesterday. The children experienced stomach cramps and were immediately taken to a local hospital. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
Looking for a must-have deal this Black Friday? With Outsurance, you could get mind-blowing car insurance savings. If Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask for 500 Rand cash. And make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Monthly savings if they are cheaper, or cash in your pocket. SMS out to 30754 to switch and save today. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, where you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Major backlogs through Midrand this morning. Make sure you've got plenty of time to get through not only the highway, but the associated side roads and the approaches as well. A crash going northbound after New Road. 2 lanes closed. Heavy backlogs down to Allendale Road. But coming southbound, the big volume of traffic, having a look at all that. So from Brockfontein down to New Road, super solid. Olifantsfontein, Samrad, New Road to get into the highway heavy. And the old Joburg Road as you come off at Centurion. Take the I-101 through the roadworks in towards sort of Teasers area. Very heavy backlogging going on there as well. So lots of extra time to get through. At the N12 coming out of Benoni stage slower. Breakdown near the Atlas Road exit. R21 North queuing up towards the roadworks at Tembisa on your way through to Pretoria. Durban, the Komashu Highway leaving Komashu. Quite heavy down through Duffs Road today. The N2 North still queuing at Prospecton and top of the southbound closure. It's the northbound that looks pretty slow there. And Cape Town chaos around Brackenfell. A stationary truck N1 inbound at Old Oak Road. The N1's heavy from Kryfontein. R300 backs effectively from the Stellenbosch arterial road. Heavy all the way up to that N1 inbound link. And then those bridges across the highway like Okavango Road and Brackenfell Boulevard. Absolutely jam-packed both directions. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you in your SFM Sports headlines. There is rugby. Oxen Chair is cleared to charge as the Springboks are eyeing a clean sweep. And in soccer news...
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
8 minutes after 7 on this Tuesday. It's good to have you with us. This is The Morning Brief, and I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. Coming up in the next few minutes, we'll tell you about a plan that has been set in motion to get the hundreds of illegal miners to come to the surface, either by way of rescue or by them just basically coming up to the surface so that they can face the consequences of the unlawful actions in which they allegedly engaged. And this is at the abandoned shaft. It has become something of a standoff, really, between law enforcement and those illegal miners who've been underground. The police want them to come up so they can face arrest. And it's unclear whether, what's really holding them up in terms of coming up. Is it a situation where they cannot, physically not able to, for one reason or another, or is it a standoff in the sense that they just don't want to come up to the surface? I've got a conversation coming up with Wessels Morweng, who is the MEC of Community Safety and Transport Management in the Northwest. He'll be telling me about that plan to try and get them to the surface. Then we'll tell you, while efforts to regulate spaza shops have been welcomed, there's some concern among some stakeholders in the informal sector who basically say that the 21-day window period for registration of spaza shops and companies and small businesses that engage in food handling that was set by President Ramaphosa, that 21-day window period, some stakeholders are saying is simply insufficient. So we'll get an industry voice to weigh in on that, but also we have a conversation lined up with the Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrams, who is Minister of Small Business Development, and will talk to us about that, and that's also coming up within this half hour. All of your regulars locked and loaded, but importantly, I want to hear from you. Give me a call. The number to dial is 086 000 2032, as well as sending me the WhatsApp voice notes to the number 061 410 4107. This is SAFM. We're leading the conversations that move us. The second hour of the Tuesday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
The Gunners of London are gunning for victory in their own backyard when they tackle Nottingham Forest.
He's done well, Martinelli, chance for Arsenal here, Martinelli scores!
But the Tricky Trees refuse to remove their foot off the pedal as they navigate a way to the top 5.
And headed in! It's a goal for Forest, and it's Murillo!
This is the Premier League. Catch the incredible encounter between Arsenal FC and Nottingham Forest FC on Saturday, 23 November at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC3. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
At Business Outsurance, ensuring your business is our business. Switch to Business Outsurance today, and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Get affordable cover to protect your business against everyday risks. Get the best business insurance at the best price for your business. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
Let's hear from Kanya in Cape Town.
Good evening, Mike. I believe the player is AB de Villiers.
Our top scorer at the Super Sports Park is Rassie van der Dussen with 202 runs. He's currently on the 5th innings.
The answer, incidentally, to the quiz question is David Miller, who has gone past Rassie van der Dussen. A lot of you saying Rassie van der Dussen. Before last night, Rassie van der Dussen was the leading scorer with 202, but Miller needed 3 runs to go past that. He scored 18 last night, so he's on 218 and is the leading scorer at Supersport Park.
Top Sport on SAFM. SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
All right, let's start this hour with this now. While efforts to regulate spaza shops have been welcomed, some stakeholders in the informal sector say the 21-day window for re-registration is insufficient. President Cyril Ramaphosa announced plans at the weekend to address the recurring foodborne illnesses linked to pesticides that have claimed the lives of at least 22 children across the country. Informal traders say they welcome the decision, but they are calling for government to include them in its efforts. Let's speak now to Samuel Madikoto of the informal sector Limpopo, who joins us now to talk about that development. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So tell me about the efforts to try and get the spaza shops and businesses that engage in food handling registered within 21 days. How's that effort going from your experience and perspective?
Morning to your listeners. This 21 days, yes, theoretically is possible, but practically it's not, because the process of registering itself, it cannot take that. It cannot take that 21 days for a person the new person who didn't even have registered before to register because of the requirements of that registration, and it will depend with the business as well. So we don't have a problem with registration because that is the right thing to do. But the period that now is given, that it's not sufficient enough for the traders to be able to legalize their businesses. That is the worrying factor to us.
Why is the period not enough? What would stop a critical mass, if not all, spaza shops and small businesses that engage in food handling from, getting themselves over the line of registration within the 21 days?
Let me give you the example with the province of Limpopo. Limpopo, when the people they have to register with Libra, is the Act of Limpopo for registration. When you go, you have to go to the municipality with your ID, with the proof of a business site. If you are coming from the village, and then you have to go to the Mushate to acquire that, or you have to go to the municipality if you are staying in the area where is the municipality. And after the municipality must come and then inspect the building that you are working from. And then after that inspection, then they must give you the certificate for for that building. And for those who are dealing with the food, like the restaurant and the others who are dealing with the cooked food, they must go to the department, not to the department actually, but to the district municipalities to acquire the health certificate. So to acquire the health certificate and then all those things that from the municipality is not the problem. The problem now lies with they have to inspect your building, because to do that, it's not something that the municipality they will have the capacity to do it that fast, because the inspectors, they must come and then see how the building that you are using, whether it's compliant with all the laws and everything, and then after that issue that compliance certificate for the building, and that one is not free.
So, Mr. Madikot, from what you're describing, it sounds like a logistical nightmare, really, more than anything else. Would government intervening in a way that eases the burden of those logistics, would that make a difference and make it possible for people to meet this 21-day deadline? For instance, there's this 500 million rand fund, right, which the president announced as well, which is not really about monetary support, but includes supporting small businesses to be compliant in terms of regulations. Would easing the burden of complying help you as a sector?
No, the problem now is that we are busy trying to engage the government on that, even though that takes the process takes time, and then it's very slow, because we need to talk to the government about that, and saying, because of this, the burden of the administration and all those things, how simple things they can become now. And the other thing is that, remember, this is they call it re-application. For those who registered first before, they might not have the problem, because they will be having everything that is required by the law. So the only assistance that we need now, we need from those people that they didn't register before.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see. All right. Thank you for your time this morning. That's Samuel Madikoto, who is the General Secretary of the National Informal Traders Alliance of South Africa, that is NITASA.
Bafana are coming to Cape Town to play the final qualifier against South Sudan at the Cape Town Stadium on the 19th of November 2024 at 6 p.m. Come early, dressed to support Bafana Bafana for a chance to win prizes. Gates open at 3 p.m. and tickets start from 60 Rand for adults with special rates available at 30 Rand for children under 12. Scholars in uniform and students with student cards at all Ticket Pro outlets. If you can't make it to the stadium, catch the game live on SABC2 at 6 p.m. or visit sabcsport.com. For more details, visit safa.net and Bafana Bafana on X and TikTok.
Black Friday is the season for unbelievable savings, and Outsurance has a deal you cannot miss. Get a quote. And if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask for 500 Rand cash. Make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Monthly savings if they are cheaper, or cash in your pocket. SMS out to 30754 to switch and save today. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, where you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, I've got to tell you this. We were scheduled, as I said at the beginning of this hour, that we were scheduled to speak to the Minister of Small Business Development, Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. We have been informed by her office that she will not be doing the interview. And this is besides the confirmation last night by her office that she would be available. This has to do, of course, with the measures announced by the President. But there you have it. Interview confirmed overnight, but she will not be doing the interview this morning, according to Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams' office. But let's move on to this now. A plan has been set in motion to rescue hundreds of illegal miners at an abandoned shaft in Stilfontein in the northwest. The plan comes after local government roped in mining experts and community leaders to find a solution to an impasse between law enforcement and illegal miners who remain underground at the old Buffelsfontein mine. Let's welcome into the conversation Wessels Morweng, who is the MEC for Community Safety and Transport Management in the Northwest. Good morning to you, MEC. So tell me about this plan. What does it entail?
No, thank you very much. Let me take this opportunity to greet your listeners. The minister did indicate to us on Friday that we must, the government will rescue the miners. He developed a task team that needed to formulate a plan. The task team that is headed by me, the MEC for Community Safety and Transport in the province. We met on Friday to operationalize the plan following the directive of the minister. We also met yesterday to receive the plan. The plan is very practical and it's very pragmatic with, of course, costs, because we need to be emphatic on that point that this will not be done without cost. There are costs that will be incurred. So we looked into the plan. We discussed it with the mining rescue team, an experienced team that have done this thing before. They've outlined how the plan will unfold, which is starting today with a risk assessment, of course, followed by clearing of the site. And then that's how the plan will unfold up until to its eventuality.
Yeah. And in terms of the logistics involved, what do you need to procure and install in and around that shaft to make it possible for a large number of people to come to the surface?
The rescue team has indicated that they've got machinery in place. They did indicate to us. So there is a lift that they are going to utilize to go beneath the ground so that it can rescue the illegal miners, not miners, because those people are illegal miners. So we first need to determine the number, because there are speculations, and government does not operate with speculation. It operates with facts. Now, there's a mechanisms in place that we are going to put to go and verify the number, because from where we are seated, we are convinced that the purported 4,500 is far from being true. It's far-fetched. It's not there. It does not exist. There's nothing like that. So we need to verify, so that when we say that there's nothing like that, we speak with authority and we speak with facts before us. Now, once we've gathered how many numbers are there beneath the ground, that will be able to assist us to can be able to check how will the plan unfold of rescuing those people, because the number will determine the number of days and also the cost thereof.
Yeah.
Because let's say, for argument's sake, you can find that there are 5 people under the ground, as opposed to this purported hundreds and hundreds of thousands. Or maybe it's true, there are hundreds of people, but importantly is for us to send our mechanism to determine the number and unfold with the plan, take out those people, process them, and make sure they are arrested.
So can you confirm then, MEC, that your approach to all of this is that this is a rescue mission? You've used the word rescue several times in this conversation. Is it a rescue mission? And if so, why is it a rescue mission? For someone out there who's asking, why can't these people just come up to the surface?
Look, the plan was that we needed to block all the entrances so that they do not get food and they'll resurface. And they'll resurface. And the plan has worked very well. They've managed to resurface. But attached to that, we can't ignore the fact that there is a right to life that is enshrined in our constitution, which various sectors in the society, they've raised that to us without mincing their ways. And we listen there. We listen as government, and then it is for that reason that we will apply this plan to extract them beneath the ground.
I hear you, MEC.
We respect this right to life that they
Understood. Understood.
Yeah.
But I'm asking why it is approached as a rescue mission. You need rescuing when you are in trouble. Is it your sense that at least some of the people who are underground are in trouble one way or another in terms of their health and their physical ability to come to the surface?
Yeah. Look, to us, whether it's a rescue mission or not, we need to take those people, we need them alive. We need to take those people alive beneath the ground so that we can process them. Those who need medical attention can get medical attention. And importantly, they must be detained, because that is the key objective why this mission was established in the first instance.
Tell me about
who we deal with this criminality to its core, and we collapse it to its knees.
Who will be going down to the surface? Because that's been part of the conversation.
No one will be going down.
No one.
Yeah, no one will be going down. Like I indicated in several interviews that I've held, we've got an obligation to account to the public and to inform them as to what we plan as government, because we are established by the people who represent them. But be that as it may be, there are other protocols that we can dictate, because we are going to rescue criminals. That's a fact. We can't divulge the plan in its entirety to its finer details, because the plan can be intercepted and it can become something else. It can be sabotaged by the very same criminals. We need to emphasize the point that we are rescuing criminals. It's not as if we are rescuing people who does not possess criminal minds.
So is it part of your approach to have a police tactical approach? Will there be police officers going down to the surface to ensure that the process of these people coming up is as safe as possible? And will it be a tactical approach?
No police is going to go under the ground. Police were trained to arrest people. That's what we have always been emphasizing. We can't send innocent lives there. Police, they are leading innocent life. Patriots who are protecting the people. No police is going to go beneath the ground.
Will mine rescue services be going down to the surface?
No, they are not. They'll also not go to the surface. But we've got the mechanisms in place that can be able to assist us to determine what's happening beneath the ground.
So how are you
inform the plan?
So how are you rescuing these people, MEC, if no one is going down to the surface, to the underground? MEC Vessels Morweng, I don't know if you're still okay. I see that there's a bit of a challenge. Hold on a second there. Let's see. I see that you've muted yourself there, MEC. MEC,
no, I think.
Yes,
hello, can you hear me now?
accidentally. MEC, so
Okay.
how exactly? I'm confused, completely confused. How are you calling this a rescue mission? No one is going down. Mine rescue services is not going down. Police officers are not going down. No one is going down. And so far, we've mentioned a lift that will be installed to go down. How's that different from what is happening now, where police are standing at the surface and saying, "Come up," and the people are not coming up?
No, it's different. It's different. We have seen for ourselves that some of the miners they are weak, and they're being pulled manually through a rope, and by volunteers. and we can't do that.
You're saying some of them are weak, but you're not sending emergency services to go down there.
What is emergency services?
I don't know, paramedics, for example. If people are weak, one imagines that some would need to be carried on a stretcher and the likes.
No innocent life will be sent beneath the ground. We can't do that. We can't send innocent people below the ground to go and deal with hardcore criminals. You see, that's one thing that we are forgetting here. That we are dealing with murderers. We are dealing with rapists. Just here
you don't have proof, though, of those crimes. At best, at this point, they are suspects in as far as illegal mining is concerned, as far as theft of minerals is concerned, murder, rape, and the likes. You don't have proof of that.
No. In Gauteng, Zamazamas, they raped young women when they were shooting music video. You've got that thing in your archives. Here in the Northwest, they've killed 15 people in a tavern. They might have this crime. They are linked to Zamazama. I've got evidence to that effect. You can check your archives there at SAFM. In Gauteng, they raped young girls.
All right.
Now you can't come and tell me
it's not the same group, MEC. We could go round and round. It's not the same group, though. That's the point that I'm making. Just because there was an incident that happened.
You are also not sure that it's not the same group.
All right.
At the end of it all, it's Zamazama.
I'll leave it at that.
You are also not sure.
All right, MEC, just hold on a second. Let me take a call from Christopher in Joburg, who wants to weigh in on this conversation. Very briefly for me, Christopher, good morning.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate the fact that you have pointed out to the MEC that one cannot generalize in the way that it does. I think that's very uncalled for as a minister of government, somebody that is supposed to govern for everybody. You cannot generalize and say, because one black man robbed or killed or raped somebody, that all black men are criminals. Because this is what he's doing. He's saying, because one person linked to Zamazamas did something, now all Zamazamas are criminals. And that's just wrong. Government's characterization is just genocidal, and they should please stop that.
All right, thank you for that. Let me quickly take a call from Kwena. Kwena, good morning.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. How are you?
Very well, and very briefly for me, Kwena, please.
Yeah, Thulasizwe, I don't think you handled this past interview very well because I think you went a bit off emotional. You were not fair for the MEC. What MEC is raising there, those are facts on the ground, and those facts, they are very important to us as the public. We are dealing with criminals here. We are having a problem of Zamazama. Okay. You remember what happened in Joburg South, the shooting. Those people, who knows they are underneath hitting a tunnel to escape. You don't know those kind of things. You can't be sending paramedics down there. No, I don't think you were right there.
I hear you, Kwena. We've got to press for those answers as to if it's called a rescue mission, we've got to get the details of why it is called a rescue mission if no one is going down to the surface. But I take the point that you have made. MEC, I've got to thank you for your time. That's MEC Vessels Morweng, who is the MEC for Community Safety and Transport Management in the Northwest. Let's check in with N. Musa now with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us in the headlines, Traditional Leaders Organization Controlesa has criticized Minister in the Presidency Kumbutso Ntshabeni for her remarks on the illegal miners that are underground at a mine in Stilfontein in the Northwest. Last week, Ntshabeni said government would not offer any assistance to the illegal miners. The Garden Route District Municipality in the Western Cape says 9 children from the Mossel Bay area were admitted to hospital after sharing chips they bought from a spaza shop. The children experienced stomach cramps and were immediately taken to a local hospital yesterday. And the rand has gained more than 1% as markets applaud the recent move of ratings agency Standard & Poor's to improve the nation's credit grade outlook. The ratings agency revised South Africa's outlook from stable to positive. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Heavy traffic making your way through Midrand this morning. It all stems from this earlier crash on the M1 North just after New Road. So the M1 towards Pretoria is super heavily backed from Allendale Road, but it's a southbound big volume that's getting caught having a look at it. So the M1 South from Brockfontein, super heavy this Tuesday all the way down to New Road. Approach roads to the highway, Samrand, Olifants New Road, absolutely heavy trying to get in. And the alternative, R101, the old Joburg Road from Centurion down into Midrand, pretty heavily backed as well. R55 from Blue Hills deep into Kyalami, heavy with with alternative route seekers. R24 out of the airport, a crash near Barber Road. That's holding up to Joburg. N12 and R24 routes into Galilee's heavy, and no traffic lights. Winnie Mandela and Sloane just south of the N1, including the M1 at Winnie Mandela, down forever. So some real pressure on the N1 approaching the four ways off ramp both ways. Durban, the N2 north heavy from the M7 through the roadworks up by Westwood Mall. And Cape Town today, the N1 stationary truck at Old Oak Road still there at Belleville. Very heavy queues back to Eustonburg. The R300 queuing from Stellenbosch Arterial all the way up to join that N1 inbound. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you once again, Zai. There was a brief moment of concern there as far as Oxen Chair is concerned.
And he's back in the herd.
Yeah.
The ox.
Relief.
I know. I'm worried about the grass in Cardiff. It might not survive the stampede. Ox. Yeah, absolutely. And Wales, man, they better reinforce their scrum. The ox is back. And I think the Springboks are just so relieved that cut above the knee during the win against England has healed. Now, Nche, who was ignored by World Rugby for the Player of the Year award, despite some stellar performances this season, will be available for selection in the season-ending test against Wales. That's in Cardiff on Saturday, with the Boks on the hunt for their third win of the November tour. Now, Wales, they are battling their worst losing streak in history, 11 matches down and counting. But the Bok assistant coach, John Davids, isn't underestimating the opposition.
But from a physical point of view, physical side and showing good structures, I think they're a team that, at this stage maybe are not in a good place, but in terms of the effort and how they played and how they fought back, it's never easy in Cardiff coming here. If you look also back in terms of our performances against them here, so it's a team that we respect. We know they don't go away, and we have to bring our A game.
Meanwhile, Bafana coach Hugo Bruges insisting they will not be taking their AFCON qualifier against South Sudan tonight, 6 p.m. lightly, although the fixture is a dead rubber, with South Africa having already booked their ticket to Morocco next year. Here's the Bafana coach, Hugo Bruges.
We want to win the game of tomorrow. This is not a friendly game. For us, it's an important game because we want to be first in the group. And we also want to show something, if my information is right, to the crowd who will be tomorrow in the stadium. That means that we are still motivated. And again, it's very important for us so that we can finalize those qualifiers as first in the group.
In the meantime, the Kenya head coach Engen Firat has urged the Kenya Football Federation to address the problems with facilities in the country ahead of the dead rubber against Namibia at the Peter Mokaba Stadium this afternoon at 3 p.m. The Harambee Stars' hopes of qualifying for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations ended with a 1-1 draw against Zimbabwe at the same venue on the 15th of November. Now, the coach side have won just one of their opening 5 matches in Group J, having beaten the Brave Warriors 1-0 in Soweto on match day 2 before suffering back-to-back defeats against Cameroon. And finally, tennis. Rafa Nadal says he will not dwell on his impending retirement at the Davis Cup finals in Malaga and only focus on helping Spain claim the trophy this week should he be called into action.
I play it and I practice it since I was 8 years old, 7. I remember, I started at 3, but in that age I started to work more and more with passion, with love, and with the determination to be as good as possible, no? And because I'm going to live this professional tour with the calm and with the personal satisfaction that I give my best almost in every single moment.
That's how we wrap up sport. The best sport comes up at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning to Daoling Lechela once again, and Daoling will be joining us in just a moment, and she's got updates, and I think among the stories that she'll be covering include developments in the car retail sector, the competition there. She'll be telling us about the expectations around what We Buy Cars expects by way of competition. I believe we have Daoling. Daoling, are you there? Tell me about what We Buy Cars expects in as far as competition from Chinese car manufacturers is concerned.
Well, We Buy Cars is forecasting that Chinese manufacturers will capture a significant share of South Africa's new car market, potentially reaching 25 to 40% by 2028. In a News 24 article, the company's CEO, Van der Walt, said the growth is being driven by the affordability, quality, and value for money offered by these brands such as Jetor, Mahindra, Haval, and Proton. Now, Van der Walt expects established brands like Toyota and Suzuki to maintain their market share, while German brands like Mercedes-Benz and VW may struggle to compete. Now, these Chinese manufacturers have already made substantial inroads, more than doubling their market share in just 2 years, from 4% in June 2022 to over 10% currently. In the latest new vehicle sales report for October by NAMSA, Chery and GWM outsold notable brands like Kia, Nissan, BMW, and Merck. Van der Walt attributes this success to the Chinese manufacturers' economy of scale and global production capacity, allowing them to produce hundreds of thousands of vehicles across various factories worldwide. The comments come alongside We Buy Cars' annual numbers, where revenue ticked higher as it benefited from higher demand and prices in the second-hand car market. Some of its best-performing brands were Toyota and Ford.
Tell me about PPC. Are they cementing their hopes of growth on the anticipated infrastructure boom? See what I did there?
I see what you did there. I was about to mention it. Love it. Now, the Cement and Construction Materials Group, they've expressed optimism for their next financial year, citing an expected local infrastructure boom and increased infrastructure tenders. Now, the positivity was further boosted by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana's comments in the midterm budget. Last month, Treasury set a strong tone for its effort to boost infrastructure investments, while the positive sentiment about the GNU and falling interest rates have set the stage for an infrastructure boom in the country. With that in play, company CEO Matthias Cardarelli says PPC aims to increase production by 20% in the medium to long term, reclaiming market share. Cardarelli noted that PPC's ready-mix business is receiving requests for new infrastructure projects in 2025, indicating a potential boom in infrastructure development. Now, zooming in on its half-year performance now, for the 6 months ending September, PPC reported a 4.2% decline in revenue to 5 billion rands due to decreased cement sales, but price increases offset volume reductions, and the company's core SA and Botswana operations returned to contributing positively to margin expansion. Earnings in the meantime rose 10%, and the group dished out a special dividend worth 521 million rands. This comes as it received the proceeds from the sale of its stake in its business in Rwanda.
Lastly, a recap for us then, Dowling, on the markets here at home and elsewhere in the world.
So kicking off in Asia, stocks trading mostly higher following a decline in treasury yields, which has made equities more attractive to investors. With that, we're seeing the Japanese Nikkei trading higher, up just over 0.6%. And then in Wall Street, futures are in the green. Investors on that end are closely watching for any further news around President-elect Donald Trump's planned administration. They're also eyeing those numbers from NVIDIA that's out tomorrow. Then coming back home, markets closing in positive territory yesterday with the All share up 0.66%. That upbeat sentiment filtering through to the currency markets as well, with the rand making gains back under the 18 rand mark. It's trading at 19.76 to the dollar this morning.
All right, thank you for that. That's Ndauling Lechela. She'll be back with one more update just before the resumption of trade for this Tuesday at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and that's coming up after 8:30 here on the Morning Brief.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? At Specsavers, get a free pair of branded prescription sunglasses up to 3,200 Rand. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
Awesome Friday! VS Gaming Weekly is back on your screen, bigger and better with more exhilaration. Draw near as we shine a spotlight on the world of gaming to bring you everything from gaming news, the latest tech, tournaments, players' profiles, and celebrity interviews. Get the latest in gaming news and trends, as well as tips and tricks from some of South Africa's favorite pro gamers. Witness Telkom VS Gaming Weekly every Friday at 2 p.m. on SABC1, with repeats every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. on SABC2. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Africa Update on SAFM.
For that, let's say good morning to Sipho Mantula. Good morning to you, Raz. Talk to me about what's happening in Tanzania. There's been this building collapse, and unfortunately it's been fatal.
Refreshing morning, Thulas and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Indeed, Thulas, what we are picking up from the capital city, Dar es Salaam, is that there was a collapse of the building in the capital city where 16 people have lost their lives. 80 people have so far been rescued from the 4-story building in the capital city. President Samia Sulu, Thulas, has ordered an audit of all buildings in the capital city. And as we know, it is a rainy season in Tanzania, and others are saying it is common for the building to collapse, Thulas. The Prime Minister also visited some of the families who have lost their loved ones in that tragedy that happened over the weekend and still continue until today.
Tell me about calls in Mozambique as we continue to watch that situation. Calls for the annulment of the election results as well as a caretaker government.
Thulas, we have been worried not to hear anything from Renamo. Remember, Renamo was the third party that got the least votes after the elections on the 9th of October. Now, the president of Renamo went on the media yesterday to call for the elections to be annulled, Thulas, and for the caretaker government to be installed. And this comes out of what we see now in Mozambique, as Troika is meeting currently in Harare. But Momade is alleging also that there was a fraud that happened in those elections. He said those elections were not free, fair, transparent, and hence on that press briefing yesterday, he was also calling for the Human Rights Watch for the investigation to the people who have been killed so far since the unrest post the election results in Mozambique.
In the Great Lakes, Burundi faces an overcrowding problem in its prisons, and they are doing something about it.
They are doing something about it. Their ministry and the presidency has given what we call clemency or pardon. And this parole has been given to almost 477 prisoners out of 13,000 that they are looking at. And this is almost from 5,000 that will be freed also. Coming from the 477, they are going to add another 5,000 that will be freed. It is a move that those who are living in exile, they think Burundi going back to democratic values in terms of now taking care of the prisoners. But the issue of overcrowding, Thulas, it is the issue of infrastructure also in the Great Lakes. And I think President Evariste Ndayishimiye is taking this action to now give the pardon to those prisoners in Burundi.
And with respect to the DJ Thibaut Touch, your boy, your boy, our boy, as he calls himself, the new president of Botswana will be addressing the nation this afternoon.
This will be at 2 o'clock that the State of the Nation address in Gaborone will be delivered by His Excellency Advocate Duma Gideon Boko. As we said, he will be looking at 5 key issues, economy, social development, political climate in Botswana post the Masisi's presidency. All issues of climate change will also be part of it, and I think the 5th one will be infrastructure and innovation, looking at how Botswana can capitalize on the digital age that we are in the SADC region and in the African continent. Others are saying he will also unpack the foreign policy of Botswana, as he will also be part of the Troika meeting tomorrow in Harare.
And lastly, Sipho, in your historical archives, take us back to 19 November 1981. What happened?
It was a very sad moment. He was a member of the Release Mandela Committee. He was a member of the Lawyers for Human Rights, a founding member of the South African Democratic Lawyers, an apartheid activist, was murdered brutally on this day 43 years ago. This is Griffiths Mlungisi Mxenge, who was killed on this day. This matter went even to the TRC. Those who murdered Griffiths Mxenge will remember the names like Joe Mamasela, Derek Kotse, Almond, Nofomela, and others they call David Chikalanga. It appeared before the TRC Thulas in 1996, and we know the brutal killing of Richard Mxenge also followed with his wife, Victoria. They were both awarded the Order of the Lithuli in silver by the government, and I know the University of KwaZulu-Natal, they've got an annual memorial lecture to us to honor both Victoria and Griffiths Mlungisi Mxenge. A very painful history in our 30 years of our democracy to us when we look back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. That's Sipho Mantula there with your Africa update. Just a sampling of some of the key stories playing out across the continent and its diaspora.
Bafana are coming to Cape Town to play the final qualifier against South Sudan at the Cape Town Stadium on the 19th of November 2024 at 6 p.m. Come early, dressed to support Bafana for a chance to win prizes. Gates open at 3 p.m. and tickets start from 60 Rand for adults with special rates available at 30 Rand for children under 12. Scholars in uniform and students with student cards at all Ticket Pro outlets. If you can't make it to the stadium, catch the game live on SABC2 at 6 p.m. or visit sabcsport.com. For more details, visit safa.net and Bafana on X and TikTok.
This summer, we have extra large offers on Ford Ranger XL, XLT and Wildtrak from only 481,900 for a Ranger XL single cab 4x2. It's the extra large Ranger offer from only 481,900. Visit your nearest participating Ford dealer. Optional service plan included. While stocks last. T&Cs apply.
Back-to-back Women's T20 World Cup runners-up, the Proteas face England. They both want to walk away from Buffalo Park with big smiles. What a summer without cricket. This is the first Women's T20 international contest where summer cricket comes alive. South Africa clashes with England on Sunday 24 November at 2 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and reports on various SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
69 million rand in total estimated Powerball and Powerball Plus jackpots could turn this Tuesday into a day to remember. Don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 65 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 4 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Update on the busy N1 through Midrand this morning. The crash going north of Pretoria just after New Road's basically being cleared to the side. All lanes are open, so the northbound is busy, but it's easy. The southbound during the onlooking phase built up, and that'll take a while to clear. Some very heavy traffic from Brockfontein on the M1 South all the way down to New Road. New Road, Olifantsson, Samran, all fairly busy trying to get into the M1 South as well. R21 is heavy today away from the airport up through the construction at Tembisa. The R24 has a crash coming out of the airport towards Joburg at Barber Road, and a smash on the N1 North at Winnie Mandela. Heavy traffic coming up from Randburg. Also the lights down Winnie Mandela at the N1, Winnie Mandela and Sloane. So as well as that crash, you've got some real congestion trying to get off the highway and turn into Winnie Mandela, particularly down towards the Bryanston side. Big truck crash and obstruction on the N2 between Kokstad and Harding. There's some queuing pressure there, and probably will be for a while. The truck has crashed and lost its load, so truck needs to be moved and the load needs to be recovered. If you're moving Kokstad to Harding, might want to just to hold back a little bit and do it a bit later. M7 into Pinetown, St John's Avenue Bridge remains a heavy one this morning. That's going in from the sort of Queensborough north of Dean side. If you like, by the time you get to Hunstedman Highway, it all gets busy. And Cape Town, the N1 into town, that stationary truck at Old Oak Road still there. The pressure really on from Justenburg, Kryfontein, R300 to get into the N1. Queues as far back as the Stellenbosch Arterial Road. Marine Drive, Table View through to Racecourse Road and the Paddocks is heavy. N7 both ways around the N1 Highway and Bosman's down backed up, and no traffic lights on the N7 Jake Scoville Drive at Beaufort Circle, a big junction between Langer and Epping. The traffic on the N7 into that junction queues from Vangate Mall. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
7 minutes to 8 here on the Morning Brief. The South African government plans to regulate short-term rental platforms like Airbnb to balance the needs of tourism, housing and local communities. Interestingly, Cape Town, we are told, has more active Airbnb listings than San Francisco, Amsterdam, Berlin and Sydney. According to the new rules, Airbnb hosts will be expected to comply with local regulations, including zoning laws and bylaws, municipal bylaws and the Tourism Act, among others. For more on that, I'm joined by Grant Smee, who is the CEO of the Only Realty Property Group. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time this morning. So these regulations, what is your understanding of what they entail, and are they to be welcomed or something that is problematic in your view?
Morning. So the regulations that look like they're planned, first and foremost, look like they may limit the amount of nights that short-term hosts could rent their properties out, therefore limiting the ability for Airbnb hosts to use their properties permanently for short-term letting.
So that's one of the aspects, the limiting of the number of nights. Is that something that you welcome, or do you find it to be problematic?
So I think implementation of any regulation sort of is often welcome, especially where people take advantage of sort of lack of regulations. But then on the other side of it is the overregulation of the sector, particularly considering Cape Town the amount of or the contribution to the GDP that this creates. So it could be an issue, and I think only once the regulations are actually implemented will we see the complications thereof.
Just tell me about your sense of what the implications could be and the impact of these regulations could be if implemented as they stand today.
Yeah, without significant thought, a couple of things could be issues for the Airbnb hosts themselves. The impact of their income and limitation of their income, that then plays part in property prices. There's been a lot of speculation buying, particularly in Cape Town, around Airbnb and buying for these increased income amounts. So if income is limited, property price will be significantly impacted. Although on the flip side of that, a lot of those short-term properties will re-enter the long-term market and then sort of limit the increasing rentals that we've been experiencing in Cape Town on the long-term market side. So there's sort of advantages and disadvantages of these potential regulations.
Does the justification and rationale advanced for this regulation, does it make sense to you? Such concerns as gentrification, issues, what you just mentioned now, that the higher prices that can be charged for short-term rental have an implication for availability and what can be charged for longer-term rental, in a way pricing people out of the housing market in cities like Cape Town. Does the rationale make sense to you?
So I'm going to say no, and the main reason for this is that we're talking about hotspots here, so we're not talking about Cape Town as a whole. So when you talk about the Airbnb market, it specifically drills down into the Atlantic seaboard and Cape Town CBD, around those waterfront areas, so where tourists do tend to sort of congregate. So I think the issue is you're limiting pricing and regulating in areas where the general public aren't generally going to live anyway. A lot of employment is outside of the CBD, up towards the northern suburbs, and by limiting Airbnb in areas where we wouldn't generally go and live anyway, and significantly impact the local economy, I think it is a significant issue. Although there are broader issues around pricing and accommodation and homes here, those areas that people would live would be up the west coast and up into the northern suburbs, and not necessarily the Atlantic seaboard.
So are there concerns for you, Mr. Smee, around the possibility of cities like Cape Town going in the direction of Barcelona, for example? We've just been reporting about over-tourism in cities like Barcelona. And an article in Business Tech, for example, lists that Airbnb has some 23,564 active listings across Cape Town. And if you compare that, San Francisco, for example, has some 7,888 listings. Do we run the risk of over-tourism in cities like Cape Town?
I mean, there certainly is a possibility, but I think the upside of tourism to a city like Cape Town is sort of, or the advantages is significantly more than the risks. And we're also comparing, if you compare San Francisco or other cities, Amsterdam, Berlin, we're talking significantly different cities and in first world countries where people do tend to live in the city centres, versus in South Africa, we don't tend to live in our city centres, we live in the suburbs and commute into the city for work. So I think we're just comparing apples and pears in terms of comparing those cities. We need to be careful taking on first world regulations and regulations in those countries to apply them into areas like Cape Town, for example. And we're not only talking Cape Town, we're talking areas like Mhlanga and parts of Joburg, where Airbnb is significantly prevalent in the corporate market.
So taking into consideration everything that you and I have, the threads that you and I have pulled at in the last few minutes, do you believe there's a way of balancing the interests of having these platforms as a viable business that contributes to the GDP of the country and tourism in particular, but at the same time making sure that some of the unintended consequences we've been discussing, the high prices, the gentrification, are sort of curtailed and managed?
Yeah, I think certainly an element of licensing and regulation is required, and it can't just be a free-for-all for the landlords out there. The owners of the properties surrounding those Airbnb units, if we talk sectional title complexes, also their rights and interests need to be protected. So I think there is a real balance in terms of regulation. So regulations are certainly required. It's just, again, if taking those regulations a step too far could significantly impact both Airbnb hosts as well as property owners as a whole and the local economy.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. That's Grant Smee, who is the CEO of Only Realty Property Group. And that brings us to 8 a.m. Time for a news update with N. Musa. Essential cover from Outsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43187 now.
In our top stories, Controlesa slams minister's remarks on illegal miners and 9 children hospitalized after sharing chips. Good morning. Traditional Leaders Organization Controlesa has criticized Minister in the Presidency, Kumbutso Ntshabeni, for her remarks on the illegal miners that are underground at a mine in Stilfontein in the northwest. Last week, Ntshabeni said government would not offer any assistance to the illegal miners. The High Court in Pretoria is today expected to hear the main application in the standoff between the illegal miners and police. The organization, Society for the Protection of Our Constitution, approached the court for relief for the illegal miners. Controlesa President Chief Lamek Mukwena.
Controlesa is shocked and flabbergasted by utterances by Minister Ntshabeni, who said her government won't even take a step to rescue those illegal miners who are trapped at Stilfontein mine. These utterances are shocking coming from a Minister of State. It was uncalled for and unnecessary. The minister is contradicting herself because there are many of the prisoners who have raped and killed our people, but they are being taken care of at our prisons, given food and even water. We are so grateful that the Minister of Police, contrary to what he said he is going to have a process where many of those illegal miners will be removed from those mines and be processed accordingly.
The Garden Route District Municipality in the Western Cape says 9 children from the Mossel Bay area were admitted to hospital after sharing chips they bought from a spaza shop yesterday. The children experienced stomach cramps and were immediately taken to a local hospital. Municipal Mayor Andrew Struble says the children have since been discharged. He says environmental health practitioners have already initiated an investigation into the incident. The chips will be sent to a lab and test results will be made public. The rand has gained more than 1% as markets applaud the recent move of ratings agency Standard & Poor to improve the nation's credit grade outlook. The ratings agency revised South Africa's outlook from stable to positive, citing the promises of the Government of National Unity to grow the economy and a surge in private investments. This week's local investors' attention will be on the Reserve Bank's anticipated 25 basis point interest rate decrease and October inflation data. The rand is currently trading at 17 rand 94 to the US dollar. U.S. envoy to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, has pledged more security assistance to Ukraine in the coming days. This comes after officials confirmed the Biden administration would allow Kyiv to fire long-range missiles into Russia. But analysts say U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's position on Ukraine is ambiguous. The BBC's Nadia Tawfik has more.
There is a big question mark about what that means for Ukraine moving forward. You had the Ukrainian foreign minister, Andrei Sybil, here. He spoke about how he thinks that both Democrats and Republicans will continue to support Ukraine. But there is a big question mark because we know the Trump administration has questioned the amount of aid and money going to Ukraine. We know that President-elect Trump has said he wants the war to end immediately.
Back home, and finally, the Wits Art Museum in Johannesburg has partnered with a vehicle manufacturing company to celebrate the artwork of Dr. Esther Mahlangu at an exhibition. The doctor, who's affectionately called the Ndebele Art Queen, is known for her colorful paintings. The exhibition features over 100 artworks borrowed from international collectors and a painted car. Nontobeko Ntombela is the curator of the exhibition.
We've got to know where we come from to understand where we are going. So if we take a moment to understand people who have paved the way, we can understand why and the value of artists and the younger artists today. My interest has been to a particular generation of artists, and I am committed to giving breath and time to their work so that when we focus on other artists, we're building on a foundation and history that we understand well.
Recapping the top story, Traditional Leaders Organization Controlesa has criticized Minister in the Presidency Khumbudzo Ntshavheni for her remarks on the illegal miners that are underground at a mine in Stilfontein in the northwest. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
And that's the news for this hour. Theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by Outsurance Essential. Get a quote today, SMS CAR to 43187. 48-year-old Zandile loves Outsurance Essential because it's low-cost insurance designed for older cars. For her 2008 Toyota Yaris T3, she only pays 391 rand a month. With Outsurance Essential, you get up to 1 million rand liability cover. That means if you cause an accident, the other car could be covered for up to 1 million rand. Add even more value with the motor warranty, which covers you for mechanical or electrical breakdowns. Get saving with Outsurance Essential for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 rand. SMS CAR to 43187. That's CAR to 43187 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, if you're just joining us, the M1 North crashing at just between New Road and Olifantsfontein has basically been cleared away to the side of the carriageway. The traffic heading towards Pretoria is easing, and that is also easing the southbound side. Although the southbound's busy from Brockfontein down to New Road, nothing to look at, so things are starting to move. Crash on the R24 at Barbara Road. That's slowing traffic both directions to and from the airport, and a crash on the M1 North at William Mandela. Big traffic coming up from Randburg in towards the Four Ways area this morning. The N1 South from Rivonia down to the William Mandela off-ramp being held because of the problem with the traffic lights at both the N1 and just south of the N1 at William Mandela and Sloane Street. Durban's N2 North queuing up into Spaghetti Junction this morning. That's interesting. The queue sort of goes to Spaghetti Junction, not really up through the roadwork section. And the stationary truck on Cape Town's M1 inbound at Old Oak Road is finally being cleared. That is easing the M1. It will take a while for the R300 to normalise. That is jam-packed this morning from Kales River right through Brackenfell up towards the M1. And no traffic lights. N7, both for Circle, so that's heavy from Vancay Mall as you come up passing Lunga into Epping. More queues on the N7 from Goodwood, moving up to a very busy Bosmansdam Road. And Marine Drive, worth a mention, still heavy. Bayside Mall through to Second Lights at Sunset Beach. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, it's soccer. The Bafana coach Hugo Bruges has vowed to finish top of the group despite already being qualified for Morocco. And speaking of top, it is the Springboks. They've been given the top spot. They are reigning supreme. That's for 2024. They've secured their spot of royalty. That's how we wrap it up with the details around 8:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, South Africa. It's just gone 8 minutes after 8. Make that 9 minutes after 8. We're into the third hour of the Morning Brief on this Tuesday. It's good to have you with us. Well, over the last 2 hours, we've lit quite a few conversational fuses, and the conversation is exploding. I'll be taking your calls in the next few minutes, as well as your WhatsApp voice notes. And the number to dial, 086 000 2032. Also, the WhatsApp voice notes, send those to 061 410 4107. Let me say that again. I think I slurred a little bit when I said that. The voice notes, send them to 061 410 4107. So among the issues that we've been discussing is the mission, the plan that is called a rescue plan by the Northwest Provincial Government and other agencies working together. The aim is to get the, unknown number of illegal miners who are underground in Stilfontein to come to the surface. The government describes it as a rescue mission, but in the conversation we had with the MEC in the last hour, you got a sense that it's being approached rather differently from how I certainly would understand a rescue mission. So I'm keen to hear your views on that, and I see quite a number of calls and voice notes already lined up to talk about that. We did talk about the 21-day period that has been given by the president for spaza shops and entities that engage in food handling to get their act together and get themselves to be registered and compliant with regulations. There's a sense among some in the small business sectors that the 21-day period may not be enough given the logistics of what needs to happen. We did touch about the issue of corruption and the effectiveness of some of our agencies. I flagged the Special Investigating Unit and said certainly the bit that is within their control, which is civil remedies, trying to ensure that they recoup monies, they certainly, in my view at least, you are free to disagree with me, they certainly have done that quite well over the last few years. So I'll take your calls on these and other issues. Let's get the conversation started. This is SAFM. We are leading the conversations that move us. The third hour of the Tuesday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
MasterChef's salty voiceover guide to mispronunciation. Today's word, finale. Origin, Italian. Pronunciation, finale. Meaning the last part of a series, commonly mispronounced as
final.
As if you are discussing your matric results. Example.
I can't wait to see the final results of MasterChef.
If you insist on saying final, it's okay. Watch the grand finale of final on November 23, 8:30 on S3. MasterChef, things are about to get salty.
Outsurance are experts in what they do.
They get to understand what type of business are you doing so that they can insure you properly.
It actually validates why we're with them. If you haven't called Outsurance yet, what are you waiting for?
Switch to Business Outsurance today and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
The Gunners of London are gunning for victory in their own backyard when they tackle Nottingham Forest.
He's done well, Martinelli. Chance for Arsenal here. Martinelli scores!
But the Tricky Trees refuse to remove their foot off the pedal as they navigate a way to the top 5.
And headed in! It's a goal for Forest, and it's Murillo!
The
This is the Premier League. Catch the incredible encounter between Arsenal FC and Nottingham Forest FC on Saturday, 23 November at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC3. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let 100 schools of thought contend. Let's speak to Mbuyisa in Ladysmith. You want to talk to me this morning, Mbuyisa, about the issue of illegal miners. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mguni.
Good morning, sir.
Mguni, yes, you know there is what you call a voluntary assumption of risk. And once you take that risk voluntarily, you cannot cry foul. Versus Moraine here, he's spot on. I agreed with him 100%. Take the resident of Rivoli, take the resident of West Rand. These people are just, they are just reigning terror in those places. And, it is rather unfortunate that our citizens in South Africa, they are sympathetic with criminals. There are people who innocently who are working in Lily Mine, who are still trapped.
Yeah.
Who has been, who has been declared dead by the court. But little is said about how are they being, obviously it will be a recovery now, that their remains are recovered. But here are the people, these people, Section 36 of the Constitution must be applicable. Their right, we know the right to life is absolute, but it cannot supersede the lives of the innocent people. Who will go and test what is happening there? Because already now there is a sabotage.
So Mbuyisa, I think the point I was making with the MSC is if you're calling it a rescue mission, it implies certain notions that you will go and rescue people that, in his own words, they believe some of them are weak. So don't call it a rescue mission then, if all you are doing is giving them an alternative to say, here's an alternative path for you to come up. It's not a rescue mission. It's an alternative path.
I think that was a wrong choice of weight for the MEC. You are quite correct. It cannot be a rescue when, in fact, you are saying that I won't go, I won't do this, because once you are saying a rescue, you go all out.
Yeah.
I think you're correct there. But all I'm saying is that for myself, I may sound insensitive, but their lives are not more important than the lives of the innocent.
Let's leave it there. Mbuyisa, thank you for that call, for this call this morning. Let me speak to Eddie in Honeydew. Good morning to you, Eddie. You want to talk about this idea of a rescue mission?
Yeah, it's one risk. Thanks to Thulasizwe. One is the issue of risk mission. Look, the MEC was I think you were a bit hard on him, but you explained now from the previous caller who weighed in now.
Yeah.
I think for me, the whole community looking at media houses, what part are we playing? Are we reporting from the surface, or some of the media houses would have trained people who would as well go in there and give us a view of what is happening there? The answer could be no on that, right?
Yeah.
And my second point is to say, these zamazamas on the open pit, not open pit, who are underground, is this not talking to imbalances when it comes to economies, where gold and rhodium, the most expensive elements, have been looted? You will be shocked if you check how much is a kg of rhodium.
Yeah.
You'll be so shocked. You may need 100 kg to survive yourself and your grandchildren. It's so expensive, and then that has been extracted and sent to European countries and world at large. Is this not showing the imbalance to say we need to Anglo-Americans of this world? Let's talk. There is imbalance in terms of where economy has always been going.
Eddie, thank you for that call. That's Eddie in Honeydew there. Let me just take a quick voice note before going to other calls. Here's one on the issue of a rescue mission.
Hi, hello, Thulas. You've asked the correct question with the MEC. The MEC is just saying one and the same thing. If there is no one who's going to the surface of the mine, and then how is it a rescuing mission? And then he's contradicting himself to say that now we cannot send innocent people down there. Remember that you are dealing with hardcore criminals. And then now that means it is the same thing that the Minister of Police said, I think it passed days ago, to say we cannot rescue criminals. That means, in other words, they are saying these people must die. That is what they are trying to say here. These people, they must die. They are forgetting that once in a while we were at the hands of the white people. White people were abusing us and our life matters back in the days. But now we black people are just oppressing each other. Come on to us.
Yeah, all right, I take that point. And I don't think anyone can quibble with the unlawfulness and the criminality of illegal mining, albeit with, a caveat that says it turns out, and as far as I understand, there's no actual crime that's called illegal mining. Usually it's the other associated crimes, the theft of minerals, the possession of substances that are banned, etc., etc. But there's no taking away from the illegality that is taking place. Martin in Polokwane, good morning. You want to talk about illegal miners as well?
Yeah, I want to talk about illegal miners. I agree that maybe the terminology used by the MEC or description used by the MEC is inadequate.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying that we are facing a very difficult situation as a country, not only because people are mining illegally, but because people are establishing an alternative economy that will have to be protected. That's why a lot of them are even using heavy artillery guns, And there are areas like in Kanana and elsewhere where you have no-go areas. Former houses that were occupied, that were used by the mine, are being occupied by these people, and those are they are no-go areas for some other members of the community. So it is good, perhaps, that the government must act tough, but it must act tough within the confines of the law.
Spot on.
Smoking people out, for me, is too militaristic a language. Rather, let's use language that is less militaristic, but very firm in terms of how the government should approach this matter.
Yeah.
But I'm saying 10, 15 years down the line, if we are not firm enough in dealing with these people, we'll have an alternative economy and therefore alternative states and alternative areas that are no-go areas, even for the police, because these people are going to use that money to buy guns. And some of those guns may be too sophisticated even for the police to count.
An ecosystem of lawlessness. Thank you for that, Martin. That's something that we should guard against. Let's take a call from John in Mokopane. Good morning to you, John, also on the same issue.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. How are you, John?
I'm actually not John, but I just chose to be anonymous because I want to work
around.
All good.
Anytime.
Yeah,
talk to me.
Yes. I want to work around that area. I'm a health professional. Right, so I was working in one of the hospitals around Blackstop and Stelfontein. So I definitely agree with the MEC for that bold decision that his department has decided to embark on. I'll tell you why. It's like things that we used to see on weekends, when you are doing emergency covers on weekends because of these illegal mine workers. None of you guys can want to see those things. It's a bloodshed, I'm telling you, because of these illegal miners. And on top of that, who sent them under the ground? No one sent them under the ground. And now they come back to that and make this ridiculous demand. There was a story yesterday that they started to demand ARVs. Who does that? Because there's a procedure that needs to be followed, right? For you to get access to ARVs. You need to be tested positive and confirmed, right? And then now they come and say, no, we want ARVs. We want this. And no one sent them there.
I hear
Who's benefiting for them going under the ground?
Yeah.
Whatever the profit that they make, does it go to the state cover towards our fiscals? It doesn't, right? And most of them, they are illegal foreigners, right?
Gotcha.
Who come to our country and go under the ground, mess up with our minerals, and then start making all these ridiculous demands.
Yeah.
Those guys, I'm telling you, they are thirsty for blood. What we used to see in our emergency unit when I was working that side, man, you don't want to see it.
All right, John.
You
Thank
don't
you.
want to see it.
Thank you for that call and sharing first-hand lived experience of having lived and worked in an area affected by illegal mining. Let me take one more voice note and then we can move on to the next story.
Morning. Thulas, for some reason, I know that now the minister's heart is at a good place. But one thing that I've always had a problem with in this country is that we've got two types of leaders. We've got leaders that never do anything, and we've got leaders that do something but are reckless as he is. I mean, we cannot be using that Donald Trump type of mentality and say, yeah, they all are. I mean, what type of an educated or high-sitting individual like him would come up with stereotypes and generalization? Yes, we are all hurt, and we are all hurting in this country because of these illicit activities that are happening. But you cannot just go on and generalize and call people criminals when you don't have proof for that. That's been reckless. That's been reckless. His side is at a good place, but he can never go about it in this fashion. Thank you very much.
I hear you, and I take that point that you make quite seriously. For instance, that's why I had to push back on the issue of calling them murderers and rapists. This is why, at the point at which these people are arrested, you are likely to see, not all of them, some of them may appear for more serious crimes, possession of firearms and the likes, but some of them, at worst, will be charged with theft because, as I was saying, it turns out illegal mining is not an offense defined in our law at this stage, despite the fact that it is an issue that we face in our context at the moment. There's not been much work to define it and codify and provide for sanctions specifically for illegal mining. It's usually the surrounding crimes, theft, possession of various, prohibited goods and the likes. All right, let's leave it there for now. You're listening to The Morning Brief, and I'm back with more in just a moment.
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
We definitely know what good insurance is. Our insurance don't delay when it comes to any claims. If something happens to one of our vehicles on the road, service delivery is the main thing.
They make sure that you are a satisfied customer from the beginning to the end.
It's definitely a win-win with our insurance.
Switch to Business Outsurance today, and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
69 million rand in total estimated Powerball and Powerball Plus jackpots could turn this Tuesday into a day to remember. Don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 65 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 4 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda, Pusha, Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The Science of Life on SAFM.
So today marks World Toilet Day, and according to the Water Research Commission, South Africa's plight of access to safe, decent and dignified sanitation continues. In response to this challenge, the Commission says it has established a technology accelerator program to help deal with the country's water and sanitation issues. Let's welcome into the conversation Dr. Jennifer Mulwantwa, who is the CEO of the Water Research Commission. Doc, good morning. Thank you for your time. Just reflections broadly on the state of water and sanitation and access to safe, decent and dignified sanitation in this country today.
Thank you very much, Thulas, and good morning to you and your listeners. Yes, the challenge of ensuring that we achieve what we call SDG 6, ensuring that there is universal access to water and sanitation globally, is a challenge globally as well as here in South Africa. You must remember that every time you have got new informal settlements, it means that there is no services such as water and sanitation. We still have got a lot of rural South Africa which still has got a challenge of access to water and sanitation, and in some cases where the access is there, it is the quality, the decency and the dignity. the WRC Water Research Commission has over the last 10 years embarked on this real program to accelerate and bring about new innovations around the sanitation space in particular.
So what innovations are coming through? You're talking about what you're calling the Technology Accelerator Program and the work that you just outlined over the past decade or so. What new innovations are coming through that perhaps bypass or go through these challenges that you just outlined?
So, Thulas, we are talking mainly, our focus has been on water efficient sanitation systems. Remember that when you have got a volume of water as we have, which is a limited and finite resource, we are having a challenge of having to share water for drinking purposes, having to share water also to convey waste, which is in the main sewage. And what we have said is, instead of wasting all of that water, we need to rethink, and it's not just in South Africa, it's the world over. We need to rethink how we are going to convey sanitation in a more efficient way that uses less water as possible. And in particular in South Africa, we do not have to be using this highly potable, well-treated water that is highly expensive to convey the waste. And those sanitation systems, our toilets, some of them are recycling the water. So you will have your decentralized system that will be for communities that are really densely populated, these high-rise buildings that have got dense populations, these separate, for example, if you're looking at a hospital, when we're looking at a school. So we are saying there are opportunities to decentralize and reuse the water for treating the waste. And then also we need to enlighten our communities around these technologies and their capabilities. But more than anything else, around today, we are really calling on companies and directors and, those that have got the means to contribute, invest in what we call corporate social investment, and say, here is an opportunity where we can start looking at these innovations and start addressing these challenges as part of what, corporate social investment countrywide.
Yeah.
So that is, we have got this breakfast this morning attending to that matter.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you for your time this morning. That's Dr. Jennifer Mulandwa, who is the CEO of the Water Research Commission. Bringing us to 8:30, let's check in with Ann Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to Thulas. In the headlines, the High Court in Pretoria ordered in its recent interim ruling that all illegal miners underground in Shaft 11 at a mine in Stilfontein in the northwest be allowed to exit the mine freely. An attorney at the Right to Protest project at Wits University Centre for Applied Legal Studies says the order affirmed the illegal miners' right to life. Traditional Leaders Organization Controlesa has criticized Minister in the Presidency, Kumbutso Ntshabeni, for her remarks on the illegal miners that are underground at a mine in Stilfontein. And Ukraine's foreign minister believes the decision of the US to authorize his country to use long-range missiles targeting Russia could be a game changer in the ongoing war. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Couple of delays to try and avoid around Gauteng this morning. One is the N1 highway towards Four Ways. Now, if you're going north, there's a problem with a crash before Winnie Mandela. That's very heavy across the old lanes from Bayers Nordia up through Malabongwe towards the Four Ways off-ramp. That's going north, if you like. And then south, it's a really heavy queue from sort of Woodmead or Rivonia roadside down to the Winnie Mandela off-ramp. Some traffic lights not working at the N1 highway and also Winnie Mandela and Sloane as well. So it's just a heavily congested and problems getting off the N1 south. Other routes across Four Ways remain badly backed up locally because multiple traffic lights are down. R24 at Barber Road, a crash causing delays to and from the airport, and the R21 away from the airport stays really heavily backed up, passing Tempesta up towards Olifantsfontein into a double lane closure. 2 lanes closed, 2 lanes open there. The N1 south, the breakdown still with us at Old Joburg Road, so swinging through Brockfontein interchange on your way through towards Midrand. That stays busy as well. Once you get into the Midrand section, it's okay, but getting to Old Joburg's heavy. Big truck crash, truck obstruction across the N2 between Kokstad and Harding. That truck needs to be recovered and its load needs to be recovered covered as well. So there's some very heavy pressures on that section of the N2 and likely to be for some time. Cape Town R300 still busy through Brackenfell up towards the N1. The N1 from Plattekloof Hill heavy right through the CBD. A lot of traffic heading into central Cape Town today. And don't forget, Bafana are in town. DHL Stadium hosting an AFCON qualifier. 6 p.m. is kickoff. You'll have a lot of spectators, over 30,000 tickets sold going in. From about 4 p.m. onwards, you'll have motorists trying to get out after a day at work in the city centre. It's going to be fairly heavily and congested around central Cape Town from 4 p.m. Try and leave the city centre before 4 before the spectators come in. It'd be a good idea. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
So as you heard there in Rob's report, Zai, he's anticipating lots of movement around the stadium, around Bafana back in Cape Town for the first time in 9 years.
Yeah! Can you believe it, that 9 years?
Were they boycotting Cape Town, these people?
I have no idea. From Bloemfontein to the mother city. I mean, the 9-year wait ends tonight, actually. And I feel like that Cape Town is going to be packed, absolutely packed to, witness Bafana's final dance before they head to Morocco. That's right, they're taking on South Sudan in this final Group K AFCON qualifier, despite already securing their spot for Morocco. Coach Hugo Bruges insisting it's no friendly match, with a call to Cape Town fans to fill the DHL Stadium. Bruges emphasizes the importance of topping the group and putting on a show for the crowd.
And you know, when you start changing everything, that means that maybe also players will feel, look, he's chasing 6-7 players. So I don't want this. What I said in the beginning, I mean it. We want to be first. And we will try to put our best team tomorrow on the pitch.
Let's go to the Springboks, who are relieved that Oxenshire has been cleared to play after a cut above his knee during the win against England on Saturday. Nche, who was ignored by World Rugby for the Player of the Year award, despite some stellar performances this season, will be available for selection in the season-ending test against Wales in Cardiff on Saturday, with the Boks on the hunt for their third win of the November tour. And they'll face a Welsh team battling their worst losing streak, 11 matches down and counting. But the Bok assistant coach John Davids isn't underestimating the opposition.
But from a physical point of view, physical side and showing good structures, I think they're a team that, at this stage maybe are not in a good place, but in terms of the effort and how they played and how they fought back, it's never easy in Cardiff coming here. If you look also back in terms of our performances against them here, so it's a team that we respect. We know they don't go away, and we have to bring our A game.
More CAF AFCON qualifier news. Malawi delivering a stunning performance in their final Group L match, defeating Burkina Faso 3-0 at the Bingu National Stadium. Despite the result, the group standings are unchanged. Senegal and Burkina Faso advanced. Rwanda secured a 2-1 victory over Nigeria, although not enough to qualify for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. And Niger secured a 2-1 victory over Ghana in their Group F match, win not enough to earn them a spot. The Black Stars finished at the bottom of the group standings, failing to register a single victory, and they also failed to reach the AFCON finals for the first time since 2004. And finally, tennis. Poland remains on course to reach a maiden Billie Jean Cup final after Iga Swiatek fought back from a set down to beat Jasmine Paolini and level the semi-final against Italy at 1-1. That's a wrap of your sport on the Morning Brief. We'll have more sport on SAFM around 12:30. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again, Dowling. So you've got news coming out of Telkom, and it has to do with mobile and fiber growing and in a way boosting that business.
That's right, Sula. So Telkom is gaining more ground in the mobile market, seemingly poaching customers from industry giants like MTN and Vodacom. The company's latest financial results reveal a 24.6% year-on-year increase in mobile customers, reaching 22.7 million. This growth is driven by prepaid customers, which has pushed mobile services revenue up 10%. Telkom's data traffic has also surged, rising 25.7%. Now, according to CEO Serame Taukubong, the company's data-led strategy is paying off. Kubong says the company's focus on data and fiber is driving growth. Looking at that fiber business now, revenue jumping 18.2%. This boost is attributed to a 10.6% rise in the average revenue per user. Kubong emphasized that Telkom is punching with both hands to drive expansion through its data and fiber divisions. Those two divisions help push overall revenue up 1.9%, but that didn't really filter through to its earnings, as the earnings slipped 1.8%. Now, as Telkom continues to execute its data and fiber focused strategy, the group aims to offset legacy fixed line business costs. Initially, it had plans to separately list or sell its stake in its fiber business, OpenServe, but it's put those plans on ice as that division is becoming a bigger contributor to its top line and aligns with its growth strategy.
I don't know this business in Dowling, and I have a feeling I'll be embarrassed. It will turn out that I should know it. Who is Astral?
Yes.
And tell me about them returning to profitability.
So Astral is a poultry player. They're one of the biggest guys that sell chicken.
Oh, okay.
And so they the competition is like Quantum Foods, who does chicken and eggs, but they're like literally one of the biggest poultry players in the country.
Oh yes, we spoke about them recently. Yes, they're returning to profitability.
That's right. So outgoing CEO Chris Skitter leaving on a high after having to deal with heavy bouts of load shedding and avian flu, which really affected the poultry industry in the past few years. Things have changed. Astral recovering from its worst year on record, as Skitter puts it, returning to profitability. The group says this comes as its turnaround strategy pays off. Another win is that the company is debt-free, as the group managed to erase net debt worth 1 billion rand, which was accumulated last year. Looking at those numbers, Astral reported a 6.4% revenue increase to 20.5 billion rands, driven by a recovery in its poultry division. In contrast, the feed division experienced a 15.2% revenue decline, attributed to decreased raw material costs and reductions in selling prices. Looking forward, as new incoming CEO Gary Arnold prepares to take the reins in February next year, the group has adopted a cautious stance despite posting strong earnings and returning to profitability. It cites persistent challenges, including weak consumer spending, intense competition, and promotional activity pressuring selling prices.
All right, lastly then, Dowling, what kind of a Tuesday do we have in store as far as the markets go?
So the JSE could be in for another day of gains as traders continue to, welcome an improved credit rating outlook from S&P Global. This, of course, also boosting the local currency, the rand trading at 17.97 to the dollar. Slight weakness from about an hour ago, but still below that 18 rand mark. Risk, however, still remains as traders eye the local inflation print and a SARB rates decision due this week. Moving over to the US now, futures pretty stable in the green. This as investors await NVIDIA's quarterly results to get a greater sense on the state of the AI industry. And then over in Asia, sentiment upbeat with markets on track to end the day in mostly positive territory.
Always with her eyes on the money. That's Ntauling Lechela. Thank you for that, Ntauling. She'll be back with more updates for you tomorrow.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
To this story now. FlySouth Air has urged people not to panic yet over fears that its international routes may be suspended. The International Air Services Licensing Council has found the airline non-compliant in terms of its shareholding structure and announced its intention to suspend or mete out some kind of sanction or withdraw its international license. The airline filed an urgent application for an interdict against the ruling, which will be heard the interdict application, that is, will be heard on the 26th of November. Let's welcome into the conversation Kirby Gordon, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at FlySouth Air. Good morning to you, Kirby, and thank you for your time. Why should people not panic when the news we are hearing is that there's an issue with FlySouth Air's shareholding, which has implications for its licensing? Why should people not panic?
Thanks so much for the opportunity to ventilate this. Absolutely. I think the reality is that this is an ongoing matter. Despite the realities that are behind it, we obviously have various contingency plans in place to ensure that services are actually protected in the long run. But there are, as I mentioned, there's a very complex process that's undergoing here. You rightly said that it's sub judice at the moment. It's in court. And so obviously, there's a lot that's behind this. And our intention is very much to protect our customers and, of course, our operations through this process.
I saw a report that quotes you, and I think it was on News 24, as saying that you've got a plan B up to plan F. What does that entail in reality? When you don't have an international license, you simply can't fly to all of these destinations that you've just recently introduced.
Well, I think the first stance on that matter is that we obviously do still maintain that we are compliant and have always been. This has been something that's been subject to approvals through the process, and there's a lot of detail into that. So, despite the finding, which we respect because that is the process that is at hand, we need to follow the appropriate steps through the judicial processes to ensure that that's in place. So there's a whole process that precedes, a sanction of that nature, which we still believe would be an absolutely extreme example. That said, we're not the kind of organization that would sit on our laurels with that in mind. We obviously are taking a look at what the realities would be beyond that point, and we have formulated several contingency plans which we're working on. I mean, to get into the details now would probably be onerous, but the long and short of it is that the intention is to exhaustively work to ensure that we can get people away on whatever trips they've booked.
So don't panic yet is the word from you, but you are advising people to check their insurance in as far as whether or not it covers this eventuality which may or may not materialize of you not being able to fly to those destinations. Why is that important, checking that insurance?
I think appropriate insurance when you're planning any kind of holiday is always a prudent step, and that is something that everyone should always be very cautious of, especially if you're investing a fair amount of money into whatever it is that you're doing. So that's a key consideration, regardless of the circumstances that you're involved in. And the reality is that across the board, we operate with the strongest degree of certainties. But if I stood up here and said to you, unemphatically, there is absolutely no chance that a flight wouldn't depart, well, that's also not genuine. I mean, there could be something along the lines of a technical issue that would come to pass. So, we need to be cautious and we need to be responsible in our advice.
Kirby, just your understanding of the issue underlying, where we are. You're obviously going to court, and I imagine, you're saying that you cannot go into further details, but what is the essence of your defense against this finding that you are non-compliant in terms of your shareholding structure?
Sure. I mean, this I can speak to because this is largely a matter of public record. So the reality is that there's a lot of conversation out there in the market and in the media about this notion of ownership. And these nationality provisions that exist in our legislation actually don't use the term ownership or shareholding at all in the relevant clauses. The specific clauses actually relate to voting rights. So our interpretation of the Act and the interpretation that has prevailed to date is really more around control rather than shareholding per se, and that's the basis of which the compliance is found. 50% of SAFER is owned by a trust, SAFER Investment Trust, and the reality is that a trust by its very nature and by its very institution breaks up the benefits of ownership. You have the element of enjoyment, which is of course your beneficiary, your beneficial owner, and then you have the element of control, which is where the voting rights would lie in an underlying asset, which is held of course by the trustees and managed by the trust deed. And those voting rights and those trustees in this instance are both resident South Africans. So that's the basis of the discussion that's been at hand and of the ambiguity in the law that needs to be conceded. And I think what's interesting to note actually is that during these deliberations, you had three different views that were being posited to the council. There was obviously our view on this matter. There was a view that was proposed by the council for Airlink on behalf of Roger Foster and his team, and there was a view that was posed for Lyft. And they were all contrasting. So what we actually did at the time was launch an application in the courts for a declarator, which is a process whereby the court will review ambiguous legislation on behalf of all interested parties and say, outside of a case, outside of considering a specific circumstance, let's review review what the parameters are here and take a look at that. That process is still ongoing, but unfortunately has been opposed by the other parties.
Lastly, Kirby, someone listening to our conversation will not have the the time for the minutiae and the detail nuances. Will just understand it as you are coming across as people who are not committing to transformation in South Africa, a business that's benefiting from business in South Africa, but not committing to the country's constitutionally imperative of transformation. What would you say to someone who has that understanding?
Thanks for answering that question, because that is highly relevant and it's completely inaccurate. I think we are deeply committed to transformation as far as all levels are concerned. And the reality is that, the very service that we offer, we have generated billions for the tax revenue of this country on an annual basis. We've created an important part of infrastructure that supports the economy across the board. Unambiguously, we've created over 2,000 jobs in our own environment and far more beyond that. And I think the contributions to the economy at large and to the society at large and transformation as specific actions are absolutely unimpeachable.
All right. Thank you for your time this morning. That's Kirby Gordon, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Thulasizwe.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
Let me take a quick call from Peter in Stilfontein. Peter, good morning. You want to talk to me about the issue of illegal mining, and you are in Stilfontein. What can you tell us this morning? Peter, can you hear me? Peter in Stilfontein, one more time. No, we seem to have lost Peter. Let me take a call. Is it Gaugelo from Edenvale? Good morning to you, Gaugelo. The issue of illegal miners on your mind this morning.
Good morning, Julas. I hope you are well and blessed.
Yes, I am. You?
I'm blessed. Julas, we are a country that likes to entertain something that is illegal. We entertain it a lot. If somebody can just come in my backyard and put his own shack, that person is going to get an illegal, is going to form an illegal settlement, which is going to be formal and is going to be called informal settlement. And then we're going to take water to that person and give that person everything that that person needs. Even though we're saying that it's an informal person, and it's in my own backyard, and it should be removed. And if there is anything that needs to be done about my backyard, must be done. Right now, we have people that are trapped, who are trapped by themselves. I mean, to a point where they actually say, we demand ARVs, we demand this. And these people, nobody sent them there to us. We want to take them out. We don't want them to die, but we're saying, let them come out. Nobody's saying to them, don't come out. Let them come out. It is that those that are strong, let them carry the weak. Come out. And they cannot be armed and still demand from us.
Did you say those who are strong must carry those who are weak, but they must come out? Yeah.
Yes, those who are strong must carry the ones that are weak and come out. And when they come out, they must be met with the police and they must be arrested.
I don't think there's debate on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and after that, they must be taken to the facilities where they will be processed and given food and water. Down there, there's no food and water that must go there. The strong must carry the weak and let them come out.
All right. Thank you. Gaugelo in Edenvale weighing in on that. I'll take a few more calls and a few more voice notes on all of these issues in just a moment.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy delays on the M1 down towards the Winnie Mandela off ramp at four ways, both north and south. Southbound, you're being held by traffic lights off as you come off the highway at both the N1 and at Sloane Street. And then northbound, big backlogs from Randburg due to a crash before you get to that four ways off ramp. R24 towards the airport, being held up by a crash at Barber Road. R21 away from the airport. Very heavy passing Tembisa as you hit the double lane closure for roadworks. Southern parts of KZN, the N2 between Cockstad and Harding remains heavily backed up. Truck crash and lost load incident probably halfway, in fact, between Cockstad and Harding is where you'll come across that trouble. Cape Town's N1 from Plattercliff through to the city centre is busy, so busy that it's pushing traffic back on Nelson Mandela Boulevard, approaching the elevated freeway section as well. N2 inbound from the airport, slow going through towards Hospital Bend, and the R300 starting to ease, but still a bit of a queue as you approach the N1 inbound. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Warsaw Friday. VS Gaming Weekly is back on your screen, bigger and better with more exhilaration. Draw near as we shine a spotlight on the world of gaming to bring you everything from gaming news, the latest tech, tournaments, players' profiles, and celebrity interviews. Get the latest in gaming news and trends, as well as tips and tricks from some of South Africa's favorite pro gamers. Witness Telkom VS Gaming Weekly every Friday at 2 p.m. on SABC1, with repeats every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. on SABC2. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
So the conversation around illegal mining, as well as the rescue mission that the government is saying they'll undertake in the Northwestern Stilfontein, dominating the conversation. But I do want to get a sampling of the other issues that we have raised this morning. So let me listen to this voice note that has to do with the role of the Special Investigating Unit in our society.
Thulas, this is Pike in Cape Town. The SIU request, you must remember, has actually been strengthened by court, and that therefore becomes a court order. Now, the violation thereof will actually be a contempt of court, number one. Number two, should Puli decide to sell the very same properties, the sale, the contract of sale itself will be regarded as null and void. So it's very important that whoever buys those properties should actually dig deep, and he has got the right to know, and the information be disclosed to him or her that no, there is something being attached to all these properties. Now, the buyer should actually know what is going on. If the buyer does not want to listen to that and goes ahead with the sale of property, buy the property, it will, be very bad for them, because the contract, or rather those sales, will be null and void as of the contempt of court that Pule would have actually done back in Cape Town.
Yeah, thank you for that. That has to do with the preservation order that the SIU has obtained against properties owned by Pule Mabe. Let me take this one on food poisoning.
Morning, Tula. Shocking. In the Northern Cape in Bosman, they found a packet of chips with some substances in it. And I drove past the shop this morning, and the shop is open. So, didn't our president just told us that the shop must be closed? It's not done, and I can't really put my head around it. Why? I can't.
Sure. Yeah, so that sense that we need stronger regulation when we say we are now turning the tide and being emphatic in responding to the crisis of contamination of food, particularly sold in spaza shops and other places like those. We should follow through in terms of implementation. So on that note, let me take a call from Jack in Polokwane. Good morning to you, Jack. You want to talk about spaza shops?
Good morning, Thulas.
Good morning.
Maybe you can clarify me, man. I'm a bit confused. I want to know what is the difference between a licensed spaza shop and the one that is not licensed? What difference is going to make once it is licensed? Are they going to sell the same food that is killing the children, or are they going to stop selling something new now that it will be licensed? I'm a bit confused.
Yeah, so you should check out the full statement of the president. I think the licensing, the registration will come with you showing that you will comply with, sanitary handling of food, hand washing and the likes, that you will not store food alongside pesticides and things like those. And that's where the 500 million rand comes in to support spaza shops to be able to comply with those regulations.
Yeah, and I'm a bit worried about that 500 rand. You remember what happened to the COVID funds?
I'm not laughing. I got you, Jack. Thank you for that.
Okay, thanks, Tula.
Jack in Polokwane there. Let's take a call from Ntate Motaung. Good morning to you, Ntate Motaung. Also on illegal miners.
Thulas, good morning and be blessed today, my son.
Thank you. You too.
Thulas, I'm going to ask you a question. Maybe you can help me, or maybe one of the government officials can help me. Now I understand there are also now demands from the underground illegal miners. Let me first state it categorically. I do not support that we should leave the lives of people to perish without doing anything. But Thulas, here are two things that I want you to help me to understand. Remember that mine is not being maintained as we are speaking now. And we have realized that our country is beginning also to experience occasional seismic movement of the earth.
Yes.
Suppose Thulas, we send our medics underneath there now to go and supply those people and those will help them to rescue. What will happen if a seismic takes place and then the whole thing falls down and then these medics, which we need, which are scarce, are dying?
Yeah.
The other one, so that I can leave you to give you an answer. Thulas, remember those guys who are underground there. Let me tell you something. I know them very well. Bro, they are heavily armed. They are cruel.
All right.
They don't respect life. What will happen if we send our medics down there and then they take them hostage?
All right. Gotcha. Let's leave it there. I'll try and respond if I do have time, but I do need to squeeze in a call from Temba. Temba, good morning. Short and sharp for me on illegal miners.
Morning, Thulasizwe.
Yes, please go ahead.
In short, Thulasizwe, there's a big boss behind this scenario. I'm telling you, man. You'll be choked.
There's a big boss behind it.
Yes.
And do you believe that the guys that we are seeing are just the tip of the iceberg? The real issues have to do with the big boss behind that we should reach. All right, we lost Temba there on the line, talking about that there's a big boss behind it all. And before that, Ntate Motaung talking about the risks that are inherent in sending rescue as well as emergency services down underground. All of those valid concerns that Ntate Motaung is raising. And a lot of people have actually raised those concerns that say you send people down there having said that it is not safe. What happens if something happens? He was talking about seismic activity or even a confrontation, a violent confrontation with some of those illegal miners underground. And that's how we come to the end of today's edition of the Morning Brief. Thank you for your engagement and thank you for listening. Thanks to the team that put it all together. The Talking Point with Kethi Mohlahlana is up next here on SAFM after the news. Before I go, Essential Cover from Outsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43187 now.
In our top stories, an attorney weighs in on illegal miners underground in Stilfontein and approval of U.S. missiles for Ukraine labelled a game changer. Good morning. The High Court in Pretoria ordered in its recent interim ruling that all illegal miners underground in Shaft 11 at a mine in Stilfontein in the northwest be allowed to exit the mine freely. Felix Quibe, and an attorney at the Right to Protest project at Wits University Centre for Applied Legal Studies, says the order affirmed the illegal miners' right to life. He was speaking ahead of a hearing on the matter today. The court is expected to determine the fate of the unknown number of illegal miners. Quibe says the interim order, however, did not compel government to assist the illegal miners.
As much as people might be accused of having committed certain crimes, but they are still entitled to some constitutional rights, like the right to life, and that the government cannot just block exits or entrances and deprive the miners trapped underground vital resources like food and water. as much as the court order at the moment doesn't really impose any obligation on the state to assist those minors, so we could still see the standoff continue.
Meanwhile, Traditional Leaders Organization Controlesa has criticized Minister in the Presidency, Kumbutso Ntshabeni, for her remarks on the illegal miners. Last week, she said government would not offer any assistance to the illegal miners. Controlesa's President Chief Lamek Mukwena.
Controlesa is shocked and flabbergasted by utterances by Minister Ntshabeni, who said her government won't even take a step to rescue those illegal miners who are trapped at Stilfontein mine. These utterances are shocking coming from a Minister of State. It was uncalled for and unnecessary. The minister is contradicting herself because there are many of the prisoners who have raped and killed our people, but they are being taken care of at our prisons, given food and even water. We are so grateful that the Minister of Police, contrary to what he said he is going to have a process where many of those illegal miners will be removed from those mines and be processed accordingly.
Public Protector Advocate Koleka Kaleka says promoting good governance in public institutions would lead to an improvement in the delivery of basic services. She was speaking in Kempton Park in Gauteng during a two-day conference aimed at promoting good governance in public institutions. She says South Africa has one of the best accountability and transparency mechanisms in the world.
Government holds this government for the people. It is not for themselves. It is ensuring that they are the elected ones who are able to manage the state affairs on behalf of the citizenry. So civil society then plays a very important role representing that citizenry in ensuring that their needs are met, human rights, the rule of law is upheld and promoted.
Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andrei Sybiga believes the decision of the U.S. to authorize his country to use long-range missiles targeting Russia could be a game-changer in the ongoing war. Kyiv's top diplomat was at the United Nations in New York for a meeting of the Security Council, marking 1,000 days since the war started.
It could be a game-changer, and the longer Ukraine can strike, the shorter the war will be. And our Ukraine's position has always been clear. We have a full right to strike military targets on the territory of Russia. It is our legitimate right, and it will save our lives of our civilians. It could have a very positive impact on the situation on the battlefield.
Back home, and finally, the Wits Art Museum in Johannesburg has partnered with a vehicle manufacturing company to celebrate the artwork of Dr. Esther Mahlangu at an exhibition. The Doctor, who's affectionately called the Ndebele Art Queen, is known for her colorful paintings. The exhibition features over 100 artworks borrowed from international collectors and a painted car. Nontobe Ntombela is the curator of the exhibition.
We've got to know where we come from to understand where we are going. So if we take a moment to understand people who have paved the way, we can understand why and the value of artists and the younger artists today. My interest has been to a particular generation of artists, and I am committed to giving breadth and time to their work so that when we focus on other artists, we're building on a foundation and history that we understand well.
Recapping the top story, the High Court in Pretoria ordered in its recent interim ruling that all illegal miners underground in Shaft 11 at a mine in Stilfontein in the northwest be allowed to exit the mine freely. Felix Quibe, an attorney at the Right to Protest project at Wits University Centre for Applied Legal Studies, says the order affirmed the illegal miners' right to life. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
And that's the news for this hour. Theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by OUTsurance Essential. Get a code today. SMS CAR to 43187.
Get your payments done with the utmost security and convenience when you purchase a TV license now. With our new secure payment systems with a one-time PIN, OTP feature, and the choice of receiving your OTP via SMS or email, you can ensure prompt and secure payments. The additional use of capture will protect you against spam and automated data attractions. With TV licenses, you can enjoy watching all your favorite shows or movies that matter to you. Get yours today. Visit www.tvlic.co.za.
Makoti Down Products is a proudly South African family business started more than 30 years ago with 12 geese and a piece of material. Makoti manufactures duvets, pillows, sleeping bags and high-quality Egyptian cotton linen. Our down products are suitable for people with dust mite allergies and come with a lifelong guarantee. And we offer a nationwide cleaning service for all your feather and down products. Visit us at makoti.co.za or call us on 041 992 2395. For quality down, Makoti Down.
Our role must be to seek to build a better world.
SAFM invites you to our annual public lecture delivered by former Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor. The theme for the lecture is 30 Years of South African Freedom, reimagining South Africa's democracy, achievements, challenges, and the road ahead in protecting our democratic gains. The lecture will take place on the 21st of November 2024 at the Birchwood Hotel and Conference Center. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za.
Today, I'm part of seeking to build a better South Africa.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
52-year-old Sipho loves Outsurance Essential because it's low-cost insurance made for older cars. For his 2007 Hyundai Tucson, he only pays 314 Rand a month. With Outsurance Essential, accident claims are paid in cash, so you can choose the panel beater you want to use. Top this up with the motor warranty, which covers you for mechanical or electrical breakdowns. Get saving with Outsurance Essential for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 Rand. SMS CAR to 43187. That's CAR to 43187 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
The Talking Point on SAFM. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
How we view our bodies is constantly changing, and it's different for every person. I was lucky enough, and quite frankly skinny enough, to not have a negative thought about my body cross my mind until I got to middle school. Are you anorexic? I was asked. At first, I was just confused. Then I realized something must be wrong with me. Later, it seemed like everyone wanted what I had, and now I'm told my body is not desirable. Confusing, right? But this is what went through my mind due to the constant reinforcement from other people. Everyone has a perception of their own bodies. Good, bad, confident, insecure. Society is what shapes these views, and they are almost entirely perpetuated through the media. Because we are living in the age of social media, it is extremely difficult not to fall victim to the models and celebrities promoting a certain body type. Now, young women are told to have a small waist, pretty face, and big butt. But wait, you have to look natural too. Who can fulfill these unattainable standards? The images and representation that all of us view from a very young age begin to shape our views on what is ideal or what we should look like. These images can and often do lead to extremely negative effects. Essentially, all young people have various insecurities about their bodies. For some, it is more intense, and for others, it is simply an insecurity here or there. Regardless, insecurities impact us all. They impact how we feel when we look in the mirror, when we put on our clothes, when we take pictures, and simply when we go throughout our day. They make us feel less than. They make us diet, and sometimes they even make us starve or binge. When we do not value our bodies for what they provide us, but instead what they look like, we begin to treat them poorly. I think that most people take their bodies for granted. We will never meet the beauty standards. There will always be something that's wrong with us in other people's eyes. However, we should learn to appreciate our bodies for giving us life, and we should value our lives for having the opportunity to make a difference. The only way to feel good about ourselves is to learn how to love ourselves for who we are, not just what we look like. For me, I dealt with many insecurities for a very long time, but I came to the sudden realization that I needed to learn how to love myself, and that is exactly what I did. I thought about what my body allows me to do every day. I thought about my character, my morals, and my values, and I soon realized that there is so much more to life than just what I look like. Beauty standards are simply a construct enforced by society to put us down, but they have no real power if you do not give it to them. A trait that most people want is confidence. But confidence is not just given to you, you have to go get it. And whether you do or not is completely in your own control.
Emily Newhall is editor at the Learning Abroad Center at the University of Minnesota. So don't worry about what it is that you look like. Get your confidence and learn to use that instead to navigate the world. Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday from a scorching hot Johannesburg. And welcome to Tuesday's edition of The Talking Point on SFM, where we lead the conversation that moves you. And you're welcome to join that conversation whenever you want to on 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. My name is Khomotso KG Mweketsi. I'm in for the week for Kathy Mutlatlana. And the SMS line, if you want to send us an SMS, is 41391. 41391 at 150 to you. The WhatsApp line 061 410 4107, 061 410 4107. On X, we are at SFM Radio, and please hashtag SFM Talking Point when you talk to us. Coming up on the program today, we open the lines for you, of course. Plenty, as always, to talk about in the first hour on that 086 000 2032 number. I'll tell you now what's on my mind, but most importantly, I want to hear what's on your mind. Between 10 and 11, it's Personal Finance Tuesday. Brian Hash will be here this morning. Brian is going to unpack the reason why death is not the only event that requires cover. We need to be all covered for everything. He's going to be here. He says death is not the only event that requires cover. He'll be here between 10 and 11. Between 11 and 11:45, the Johannesburg Art Gallery and the dilapidation of the public artwork thereof is what we're talking about. In a recent article, the Joburg Art Gallery has been found crumbling, and various artwork worth millions, because art is not cheap. Various artwork worth millions damaged after years and years of neglect. The Joburg Art Gallery belongs to the people and is currently under the custodianship of the city of Johannesburg. And the Joburg Art Gallery is also the richest art collection on the African continent. Heritage experts, art practitioners, and civil society organizations have raised concerns on the gross neglect of this building and have submitted a proposal to the city to salvage the cultural heritage of this 9,000 art pieces that should be accessible to the public. And we're going to speak to Guileta Talevi, who's a journalist and co-founder at Currency, and David Fleminger, who's chairperson of the Joburg Heritage Foundation, and also Professor Federico Freschi, the executive dean of art and design at the University of Johannesburg. And we did reach out to the city of Joburg and the Gauteng Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. And the Gauteng Department of Sports, Arts and Culture have asked to schedule an interview at a later stage, which hopefully we will, to give them a right to reply. The city of Joburg were not forthcoming, and the spokesperson for the city did not respond to our interview request. What's on your mind? For me, two things today, right? Pule Mabi, right? The SIU has secured, as you know, yesterday, a preservation order against Pule Mabi's company. It's called Groen Mintiro. It's formerly Enviromobi. It's linked to him. The special investigation obtained a preservation order from the special tribunal against his company, which is associated with him for the alleged procurement irregularities involving the Gauteng, the tender that he got at the Gauteng Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, Environment, and the city of Ekurhuleni. I think it's 25 million. Because remember, he had written when he got bail. The former spokesperson of the ANC, he had written an affidavit to the court saying, that guy. I always say I laugh because I don't want to cry, right? He said he earns 25,000 rands and he's got a property in Randburg, and then he forgets to declare another fancy property in Steyn City. So Steyn City, I don't know for people who don't live here in Johannesburg how I can describe it, but it's a place where very rich people live. I've never even been inside it. I point it when I drive past it. I'm like, Naya, ile. It's Steyn City. It's over there, right? So they got a preservation order for an immovable property located at Steyn City in the Gauteng province and a luxury motor vehicle. I don't know much about cars because I'm not much of a car person, but they call it a Porsche 911 Carrera GTS. You can describe it to me, those of you that know cars, but it sounds pretty expensive to me, right? And then there's the sadness I feel at what's happening with the EFF, right? What's happening there? Because Mbuyiseni Ndlozi's silence is so loud. I wish he would say something. Because 2 major weekend newspapers said he wasn't invited to the conference that is happening in a couple of weeks' time, right? They said he's not invited. How can he not be invited? How can he not be invited? How can he not be invited? But then somebody was saying to me, could it be the fires are being stoked there at the MK party by Floyd Shivambu, who went on television and said, Mbuyiseni, he's my brother, that's my brother. We've got a relationship of over 20 years. That's my real brother, when Floyd and Julius, that initial press conference where Floyd was sitting at Winnie Mandela House, the EFF's headquarters in Braamfontein, not too far from here, and they were trying to sell a notion of a breakup that is amicable. I remember looking at it on my television and thinking, But I'm of the opinion, and maybe it may not matter, that we need more than 1 or 2 big parties in this country. Because we're so diverse, right? We're a multicultural, diverse country with very diverse needs, largely rural, right? And, we need even these small formations to find root and find ground and be formidable. That's why I don't want the EFF to fail, and it shouldn't fail. So I ask myself, what is happening there? So I want to hear, if you're a member of the EFF, I want to hear from you. What is happening? What is the truth on the ground? What is the truth on the ground about what's going to happen at your conference? Call on 086 000 2032. And what do you say? Do you say that Porsche, what is it? What's the car? Porsche Carrera GTS 911. Even saying it. Oh, Kanya just put a picture of it. It's a fancy car. It's a bachelor car. Kanya just put a picture of it next to me. Fancy car. Yeah, and the house at Steyn City. There's a preservation order against it. The SIU is wanting to take it back. So are you proud of the work that the SIU is doing? Call 086 000 2032. We'll come back with your calls.
MasterChef's salty voiceover guide to mispronunciation. Today's word, finale. Origin, Italian. Pronunciation, finale, meaning the last part of a series, commonly mispronounced as
Final.
as if you are discussing your matric results. Example.
I can't wait to see the final results of MasterChef.
If you insist on saying final, it's okay. Watch the grand finale of Final on November 23, 8:30 on S3. MasterChef, things are about to get salty.
Imagine a South Africa where every child born today and tomorrow and the next day and the next had enough love, enough food, enough safety and brain power today and tomorrow and the next day and the next. Together, we will change their future. Join us by visiting
holdmyhand.org.za. That's holdmyhand.org.za.
Hashtag SFM Talking Point.
086 000 2032. What's on your mind? 086 000 2032 061 410 4107. If you prefer to send a voice note, 061 410 4107. I can't believe that Pule Mabi says he earns 25,000 rand. Crispin in Durban, hi.
Hi,
Yo, you are talking to me on speaker.
Sorry, you're off now. Yeah.
Okay, that's better.
It's about the miners at Stilfontein. I was looking at the website of the different political parties to see if they come up with any kind of clear leadership on this. And the only thing I
the
could
website
really
of which political party, though?
Well, I looked at different ones.
Okay.
I looked at different ones.
Okay.
So I found that there was a coherent statement from the EFF that was hardly being announced publicly by their national leader.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a failure of leadership, especially from those parties that call themselves progressive.
Mm-hmm.
They should be standing up and presenting a very clear alternative to the way we understand this problem and what the possible solutions are.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I don't hear political parties saying, what about all of the illegal mine owners who are never charged with anything, but clearly, quite openly and blatantly violated all of the laws of the country about mine rehabilitation?
Absolutely.
Nobody's saying that those people, we should never rescue them, we should leave them to die. Those people are eating well.
Absolutely, because Crispin, when you do get a license to mine in this country, part of the requirement of that license is when your operation is done, it's your responsibility to make sure that you close the mine and fold the operation properly. It's their fault. The people who are operating those mines, it's their fault, and somebody needs to hold them to account.
Exactly, but you see, it's not the populist ticket. So this is where our leaders fail. You'll get people like Gayton McKenzie and Herman Mashaba coming out. Their niche market is illegal foreigners. Everything is the fault of illegal foreigners, this issue included. That is such nonsense. And I know it's a lie in the end.
Yeah.
But it's their thing. It's the thing they peddle to the public so dishonestly.
Yeah.
I have no respect for all those leaders whatsoever.
It's the era of populist. It's the era of populist politics. It's that and it's kind of sad.
Yeah, but we could have leaders who are challenging the nonsense and saying, let's go to the heart of the problem. Let's understand the complexity of this problem. The people who are doing this work illegally, if they are doing the work illegally, they're part of a much bigger picture. We've got to look at the full picture. We need leaders who say that clearly and openly.
Do you think Parliament is doing enough? Is Parliament doing enough to deal with this issue?
I don't really think so, but I mean, Parliament is there and should be used to the fullest. I mean, I think there's such potential within Parliament for doing the right things. And often in many cases, they actually do the right thing. We just don't notice it because it's not, it's not a kind of obvious problem that they have actually resolved. So I have a lot of respect for Parliament, but we should make much better use of it.
Yeah. Thank you for your points, Crispin. Thank you for your thoughts.
Thanks.
Charlie in Koffiefontein, the financial allocation for spaza shops. Hi, Charlie. Morning.
Good morning, KG.
Hi, morning.
Yes, man. I'm saying Akire Ramaphosa now announced that they have allocated 500 million for upgrading of spaza shops.
Yeah.
Now I've got one single question only. That 500 million is going to upgrade the spaza shops of the foreigners here in South Africa, because they are the ones who own most of the spaza shops. Whether they are going to they're going to make sure that they've got the proper documentation within the 21 days. I want to know, my tax money, is it going to go to a foreigner who owns the spaza shops in my country so that they can better their business?
You know what I want? I want the Minister of Small Business Development, what's her name again? Thulasizwe Abrams, yes. To speak more on this issue, because I want her to speak more. I want her to speak more on the stats, those stats that you are talking about, those questions that you are asking. I think that she should be seen more. This is her portfolio. This is her department. I need her to come out and be more active in this issue.
Stella is only there for vibes, taking photos and posting on Instagram. You know what, Stella, because now when this whole issue of the spaza shops and the poisonous foods were sold to our children, we asked, where is the Minister of Small Businesses? You know what she said? It's not a portfolio. Can't spaza shops not small businesses? Which way? What is a portfolio basically? I mean, we cannot have a government who's only there to receive salaries, but when it's time to do their jobs, they cannot do anything for it.
Yeah.
I should please, can you pray by all means, should come on your show and clarify that 500 million for which tax shops or for which owners of the tax shops is it going to agree? Is it going to assist
because
the foreigners?
we have to have a conversation around issues of allocation. How do you even, attain it? It's 500 million. The last thing we want is to open newspapers again and hear that it has been squandered. We definitely don't want to reach that point. So we have to have a conversation around how it gets allocated. So you're right. You're very right. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, KG.
Thank you. We have to hear from the Minister Thulasizwe Abrams. It's her portfolio. Spaza shops fall squarely under her department. So we definitely have to hear from her. Anonymous in Newcastle, I will come back to you because I know you want to talk the issue of what's the fancy car, Kanya? It's called what? Okay. Okay. I drive a jalopy, okay? A Carrera, they say. You want to talk the issue of Pulemabi. We'll be back with you in a short while. It's 9:30. It's time for the news headlines with N. Musa.
Good morning. Thanks, KG. In the headlines, attorney at the Right to Protest project at Wits University Centre for Applied Legal Studies, Felix Quibe, says the state can argue that assisting the illegal miners would be tantamount to aiding and abetting criminality. He was speaking ahead of today's hearing in the High Court in Pretoria of the main application in a standoff between the illegal miners and police at a mine in Stilfontein in the northwest. The Garden Route District Municipality in the Western Cape says an investigation will be conducted